Hello everyone and welcome to another Sovereign Citizen Spotlight. How's everyone doing? I hope you're having a wonderful day so far. Today we have more Chief Mahto. I teased this yesterday, but we didn't have time to get into it. It also wasn't really within the theme of yesterday's stream. So, yeah, it's gonna be interesting. He's trying to open diplomatic relationships with Donald Trump and also make him his uncle or something. Anyway, so that's good. If you want to help support the stream, you can always gift subs, become a subscriber, use the tip link, whatever. As I said before, through Friday, tips count for double as we're working our way towards the karaoke stream goal. Hope everyone's doing well. If you could on YouTube, do me a favor, like the stream. Nerdy, thanks for 140 stream streaks, as I suspect I shall learn a lot this evening, all terribly, terribly wrong. I suspect you may be right. Hey Nemesaur, how's it going? What else did I want to say? Make sure you get your flu shot and COVID shots, or they're made illegal by the insane people in charge. It's just the patients are running the asylum. We're doing great. We're doing great. Anyway, so let's just get into it, I guess. Let's just get into it. Cool beans. This starts with about a minute and a half of black screen, but then he starts screen sharing, so sorry about that. I'll also skip the prayer, probably. He does a little prayer. I don't really care.
Yep, let me go ahead and open.
Do we think he's a scammer or a true believer? He is a true believer. I have watched this entire video. That's what I've been doing today, was I pre-screened this for myself. He's a true believer. I 100% believe he believes this. I don't think a grifter could have the brain to come up with some of the shit he says in this video. So no, I think he's a true believer. Lilac Rosenberg says, Hannah, I wanted to say the reason why people who contact aliens sound weird is because of Philip J. Imbrogno. Is he like the guy that, did he like become famous for channeling and he did that weird voice and it became sort of the standard? Kind of like the guy that did Blackbeard in Treasure Island, and now all movie pirates sound like that, even though they didn't sound like that. Anyway, so, here we go.
Open this real quick in prayer while we're waiting. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Help us, my Father, to be able to please understand and overstand all of the matters and materials necessary.
Oh, good. He uses overstand even when talking to God. Make sure he's clear. Will Cal, thanks for 100 stream streaks, says all I can do these days is just laugh and wait for the demise of America. Yeah. Stone Corbell says, I got summons for jury duty today. I know there's a super low chance of this happening, but I'm hoping it's a sovereign citizen. I'll cross my fingers for you.
Necessary to increase our GDP, reduce our public debt, provide services for our veterans.
I'm just gonna put this out there. If, your prayer to God is to increase the GDP, no one can help you. You're too far gone. I don't know how to excavate those brain worms. I don't know how to do it. If your priorities are, God, please, please, please increase the GDP, I don't know what to do. You need severe therapy. Like, I mean this in the most loving, empathetic way I possibly can. You need more therapy than any therapist can realistically provide anyone in a lifetime. I wish you the best, and I hope you get that fixed. But feasibly, I don't know if it's possible.
Veterans, first responders, and law enforcement injured in the line of duty, increase their quality of life in our Mahto villages, and help our fantastic...
The GDP is going to collapse. I'll say this, I'm very anti-accelerationism, so it's very weird seeing people do accelerationism for profit. I don't know. I don't get it. You know, I don't happen to be insulated by billions of dollars, so, you know, that probably doesn't help, but, whoo! Ah! It's like we're all standing in a pool of gasoline up to, like, our necks, but there's just, like, guys waving matches around.
President Trump rid our lands of all these nefarious creatures and sorts who would come in here, traffic our people and our offspring in all of these satanic Title 4D Section 666 courts.
666, nice.
So let's start the meeting today by basically discussing something that was recorded on the 29th or the 30th. Let me see.
Oh, 1 sec. This is important. Okay, sorry about that.
29th. Okay, so on the 29th of this month, what I recorded was the following document.
I'd probably fill a whole bingo card with just the weird stuff this guy says. You know what? It's not even a tinfoil day. But as I said, I listened to this video already. We're not going to do a bingo, like I'm not going to do a gift sub, but we can do bingo for fun. Because I do want to see if he's capable of giving a bingo just from this video. He goes out on some limbs here. So, I will clear this, and we might check it every once in a while. So if you want to get a card, you certainly can. Use the exclamation point bingo command, and we can play tinfoil bingo with this guy.
I'm going to go ahead and see if I can make this thing work right, but maybe I can, maybe I can't. I can read it off of this, so this will work. But this is the Windows Fax and Scan program. This is all I have to work with.
He's going to pull it up on the screen in a sec.
Not necessarily high tech, but it'll at least get the job done. So let me do this. Where is it? There it is. Okay. So
there it is.
This was recorded here, auditor, Pierce County, Washington. This was the cost, $378.
Sure, Ryan Cooper. That'd be good.
50 cents,
Ryan was asking if we wanted some puppy vids for cleanses today.
29/20/25. Chief Mahto. You can see the addresses in brackets. Why? Because of the four-corner rule. Anything that is in brackets does not exist. So that means that not only am I outside of this zip code by using the 9998 number, but since it's in brackets, it basically says without DC, without having to say without DC.
Okay, so none of that's true. Basically, pieces of mail require you to use a zip code, but a lot of sovereign citizens believe using a zip code is a secret trick that allows them to put you under their jurisdiction. Not true. But of course, they want to send these ridiculous fake legal documents to people. So to do that, they've come up with a justification that says, okay, we'll use zip codes, but we're going to put brackets around them. And that means we're, like, not really using the zip codes, because when you put brackets around something, it means it's not really there. So sure, we wrote down the zip code, and they're using the zip code to identify where to send this mail, and it's visible and legible, and I wrote it. But also I wrote brackets, so it's like I didn't write it, okay? The brackets are effectively a symbol they are using to distort reality and pretend that they're not doing the thing they're doing. Does that make sense? I mean, it doesn't make sense, but do you comprehend? Do you understand?
So what is
Generty, those are parentheses, not brackets. Obviously, that's why it didn't work.
the document title? Assume business name filing for this entity. Idaho assume business name. Mahto tribe letter to the Secretary of the Interior. Why would I write a letter to the Secretary of the Interior? Because it's part of treaty law. That's who I have to.
Skifazoa with a $20 tip says, bringing back the puppet and give me money, money me, money now, me a money, needing a lot now. Thanks, Skifazoa. Thanks for the tip.
To notify if I'm having problems with.
Spilled Coke on myself.
White men. I hate to use that term, but in our.
I'm sorry. This guy's like a white guy, but the way he uses white men derisively, despite him being a white guy, is so funny. I don't know why. Phoenix Leftist, thanks for a 295 stream streak. Says, wow, 295. Unbelievable. Thanks, Hannah. No problem. Thanks for watching.
Because it's part of treaty law. That's who I have to notify if I'm having problems with white men. I hate to use that term, but in our lands. And every bit of land here in the North American continent is Indian land. I do not care if we were a conquered people. We do not have to be conquered today. We have a right to our culture, our language, and everything.
Conspiracy theorist tells on themselves, re white guy derision. I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna say yes. I used to think that he was entirely cynically using these identities that he's strapped to himself as some sort of subversion, but on some level I'm starting to believe he really believes it. I don't know why. I don't know if he's uncomfortable, like, being a white guy, and he just feels like if he attaches these labels to himself, like, I don't know if he actually does, like, have ancestry in his family, but at this point he's basically, you know, like, what we would consider, quote, white passing or whatever, and he's very uncomfortable with that. I don't know. I don't know. It's fascinating, though. Very weird.
Else. And should we engage in that right peacefully and lawfully as American Indians, I dare say I want to talk to the US citizen who thinks they have a right to tell us shit. That is not how I operate.
I do want to warn people, by the way, this video is like up there with some of the stuff Marcel has done in terms of just how wacky it gets. It's not as sweary, it's not as angry, but like, buckle in.
Under the laws of Yahuwah and his son Yahusha. That means that if I do not believe in your foreign Elohim,
Yahuwah and Yahusha, he's going to use a lot. Basically, he means God the Father and God the Son, Jesus, in, like, you know, Christianity. He uses these names because he feels that these specific names are important and required to address God properly. It's a little bit similar to Jehovah's Witnesses. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but Jehovah's Witnesses very specifically feel it's important to refer to God as Jehovah, not just God or like Elohim or Lord or whatever, but Jehovah specifically. So he has a similar compunction here where he believes he needs to refer to God in these terms in order to correctly interface with God or Yahuwah, I guess.
Do not try to force your religion on me.
That's what Al Pacino calls God, Yahuwah! That joke tracks? Is it funny? No? But,
I have free.
Also, I ate 6 eggs for lunch. Don't eat 6 eggs for lunch. That's too much egg. Do like 3. Do 3 eggs.
Freedom of religion in this nation. My president is President Trump, and I trust his willingness and ability to correct all dumbasses who do not want to listen. This is why this letter was written, because I too am a law-abiding, loyal American. And unbeknownst to me, when I was not allowed to take oaths, I took one at a time when I was a young man for any amount up to and including my very life in defense of this nation and the Constitution for the Republic. And if I wasn't afraid to take the oath, I'm sure as hell not afraid to record this document. Anybody out there who wants to accuse me of being anti-American or some sort of criminal, kiss my ass. You're the criminal. I didn't
I'm a judge, you're fucked.
Take an oath to any foreign entity. I didn't stop any.
It's like 40 grams of protein. In my defense, they weren't jumbo eggs. They were normal eggs. It was still too much. I'm probably gonna have a very small dinner. Maybe some toast. I don't know.
And kidnap them and take their weapons and refuse to return them for over 5 years. Maybe you don't understand the nature of an infantryman. Every member of that squad.
What is it with you and eating 6 eggs? Didn't you do that yesterday too? It wasn't yesterday, it was like 3 days ago. And I had a dozen eggs. So I ate 6 eggs twice. Quick maths. I don't eat eggs that often.
The mission
but when I get the egg craving, I crave the ovum.
That no matter what, if there's one remaining, the mission gets accomplished. What is the mission here? The mission is to correct the injustices against all Americans who unwittingly become pawns. Pawns in what?
You're giving too much money if you can afford all these eggs. The eggs were $4. $4.50, I'll have you know.
Association's child and human trafficking scheme. My accusers are all traitors to the Republic.
And I have another job too, so I paid for the eggs out of that money. How were the eggs cooked? Scrambled. I'm incompetent and can't do an omelet.
My friends are all loyal Americans, believers in Yahuwah, peaceful men and women. I will never care what traitors to the Constitution think of me. I will never care. What criminal?
Also, if I look a little pale today, I'm out of blush. I forgot to order blush. I'm gonna tonight. That's why I'm ghostly.
Think of me. Again, you make
$4.50 for a half dozen? No, for a dozen.
kiss my ass, talk to my president. I'm sure Trump will square you away. You have no.
We've seen this before with conspiracy theorists. They really think that Trump is, like, on their side. It's so interesting. They think that their parasocial relationship with Donald Trump means that he's going to be their personal enforcer and fix the consequences of all of their grievances. Like, it genuinely thinks there's a group of people who are just bitter about silly, delusional things, and they voted for Trump because they think he's going to just fuck with all the people they don't like. Which there's an element of truth to that, but he's not doing it because he likes you or to help you. He's just doing things to help himself, and a byproduct of that is hurting people. But whatever. Whatever.
All right.
Spent all our blush money on eggs. That's the story. I'm an egg floozy. You know how it is. Just walking the streets for my next dose of egg.
At all to keep property that doesn't belong to you. End of discussion. You have no right to stop people who are out traveling. But our awesome law enforcement officers don't know that. Why don't they know that? Because they're trained by the very people who are reliant upon our ignorance to traffic us in these courts.
Or maybe your understanding of the legal system is incomplete, or even, gasp, incorrect.
That's why. So if they do violate your rights, your Yahuwah given rights, not your civil rights, your Yahuwah given rights.
Bold stance against civil rights there.
Guess what? You're not going to get.
Stone Corbell says, I'm so confused. On one hand, he's like, I'm a loyal American and I love the Constitution. And on the other, he's like, I'm part of an indigenous autonomous tribe and I'm not a citizen of the US. Which is it, bro? I thought the same thing when I was watching this. There's a weird dichotomy, and I think that this is reflective to some extent of the weird identity crisis he seems to have. On the one hand, he identifies with this indigenous stuff, and he claims that he is of indigenous descent, and, like, not only that, but he also claims descent of, like black people. Like, but on the other hand, he seems to be in the Trump MAGA stuff, and he very much seems to want to grasp onto, like, privilege by associating with that. So again, I don't know. It feels like he's got this weird thing inside him where he can't figure out quite where he is, you know? Ugh.
Remedy. 5 years of bitter experience in these bullshit admiralty criminal courts and 10 years of experience in these bullshit admiralty family law courts has proven that to me. This is why this has to be recorded. Because some of us mean what we say and say what we mean. Listen up. Chief Mahto for the Mahto Nation, Yahuwah's people, in other words, non-Vatican property. All law.
He's one of the conspiracy theorists that thinks that the Vatican is behind everything. Also, I found this out the other day. Did you know that the Vatican has the highest crime rate per capita in the entire world? Story.
Fighting loyal American Indians. Government Accountability Office Styles Manual, Section 5.3 defines an Indian, Alaskan, Idaho, and Montana, and blah, blah, blah. Legal description, lands described within for 2000.
A funny joke about how statistics work.
2025 elections. That's inside of this. You'll see that here in a minute. Okay, that's the first page.
Yes, blur stacks, that's why.
Second page. Oh, man. Don't tell me this happened. Okay. Mahto.
I appreciate that he typed it up in this, like, I was gonna call it a girly font. It is. It is. It looks like a font for, like a baby shower for, like, a baby girl. Am I crazy? I'm not a typeface expert, but if I saw this initially, I'd be like, oh, am I invited to, like, a wedding or a baby shower? Or, like, something? I don't know.
Nation Declaration and Certificate of Adoption for Donald J. Trump. for the exclusive authority, tradition, and duty vested in me as chief of the Mahto nation and oldest biological son of left-handed bear wounded many times. His name was Mahto Chaka Taiopiota. I hereby affirm that Donald J. Trump, who shall be now be known among the Mahto people as Lakam Tue Lavan, White Buffalo Warrior.
Vatican also has about 2 popes per square kilometer.
In English, or Ska Tatanka Ozoye in Sioux, in Assiniboine. It is at least the Mahto dialect. It is officially offered official tribal adoption as a blood uncle to Chief Mahto. Why? Because I can't give a nephew or anybody like a brother authority to lead any of our warriors. It must be a seasoned leader, according to our tribal traditions.
By warriors, he means his weird militia, by the way. His weird, like, posse militia thing he wants. He basically wants his own private army to go around in trucks and enforce what he considers to be the law, which is, a gang. I don't know if you know that, but that's a gang. That's a gang.
So what am I handing off here? I'm handing off leadership to Donald Trump because that's what our treaties agreed our people would do. We agreed to remain peaceful because our commander-in-chief in Washington City is responsible for making sure that our rights...
What triggered this ideology in him? His wife left him, took the kids, and he got his guns taken away by the state, I believe for allegations of domestic abuse. Something along those lines. Or maybe it was failure to pay child support. I don't remember. It was something where he got his guns taken away.
...are protected. So if you are part of a law-abiding nation...
Oh, it would probably drive him crazy, Amber. But it is pretty funny. Bittergrin says, so how many followers does this guy have? Is there anyone actually living in his nation? He does have other people that believe him. I don't know how many. He doesn't have a ton of viewers, but like Marcel, he has managed to get a small group of followers around him. People who listen to him, people who send him money. Like, this is the real thing, unfortunately. Not a huge thing, but he's suckered in some people. The longer he does this, I get the feeling he'll get more. He'll lose some, probably, too, as he reveals himself to be full of shit. But, you know, he's gonna harm people in the meantime.
You always give notice. Why? Because a gentleman gives notice. You tell the local sheriff, hey, here's who I am. Here's who my people are. Here's what our license plates look like. Here's what our flag is. Here's what our flag means. Here's the languages that we teach in our orphanages. Here's the 7-day-per-week regimen for all of our martial arts and physical activities.
Yeah, I don't think I trust this guy to run an orphanage.
Here's our academic curriculum.
Is this a cult? I would say that if he got more members and he got what he wanted, I would say that yes, this would fit the definition of cult-like behavior. Because he effectively is wrapping it in this veneer of indigenous rights and indigenous community, but it's not really that. He's trying to use those aesthetics and use the language of it, but in reality, yes, he's effectively describing a cult compound, his own schools, orphanages for children, his own enforcers. He is effectively describing what, if put into practice, would probably be a cult, in my opinion.
That is different than all of you as U.S. citizens. Why? Because we educate our offspring. We make them understand what the actual language means in Hebrew. Why? Because that's what the scripture is written in.
Well, the Old Testament. The New Testament, a lot of it was written in, like, Koine Greek or Common Greek. And that's like the Gospels. So, like, I guess it depends on if he just follows the Old Testament.
They weren't written in Greek. They weren't written in Latin. That is an intentional obfuscation of the truth. Why would they change the name of the Most High over 6,400 times? Because they don't want you saying it.
Yeah, and the Aramaic ones.
Why would they change the name of his son over 6,400 times? Because they don't want you saying it. Every mainstream pastor out there that's preaching this JC character.
You would say this probably hits a lot of the bite model all the way down. The bite model's helpful, but I find it really difficult since the guy who invented it got obsessed with the sissy hypno shit. Should probably cover that sometime.
Lord, God. There was an angel named Godriel. That's who actually tempted Eve in the Garden of Eden. If you're looking at the scriptures, again, were proven by the Dead Sea Scrolls to have been written in Hebrew. Why would we read any other amalgamation that is really nothing more than some sort of a perverted twist in Latin that has now been converted into the English of our language today, which is not the language of their admiralty courts? That's legalese. That too is copyrighted, patented, whatever you want to call it in their.
Nope, legalese is a word basically for the jargon or interdisciplinary specific words, terms of art, basically, within the law, within the legal field. It's not patented, it's not a literal language, it's just words that are usually used specifically with specific meaning within the context of the legal profession.
World. That's why you have to be licensed. As an attorney, one who attorns, one who turns over, one who betrays, you must understand what words mean, or you're going to be more confused than a nun on a honeymoon. Here we go.
To represent.
Correct.
He is on a phone call with people, by the way. This is a live thing he's doing when he did it. It was a live call he was doing with himself and his followers. So occasionally you'll hear them chime in.
So, White Buffalo Warrior is forever entitled, even as
Donald Trump is White Buffalo Warrior, by the way, if you missed that. He gave him a tribal name, and the tribal name he gave Trump is White Buffalo Warrior.
a non-veteran to sit at Yahuwah's Warrior Council fire. Why is that? Because only veterans sit at the Warriors Council fire.
Also not a big fan of how his entire governmental structure, I don't think he got into it yet, but only men are allowed on their council, specifically men, and most of them have to be veterans, which you might remember is also the fascistic government structure of Starship Troopers. Not great. Not great.
According to our traditions, women weren't allowed there. Young men weren't allowed there. Why? Because they had nothing to say that these warriors needed or wanted to hear. These were the moments in which warriors could bare their souls to each other because they couldn't do it in front of their families. Why? Because
how many followers does he have? Like literal people who are in his group? I'm not sure. I'm working on figuring it out. I've seen at least a couple in the calls, so it's at least 2 or 3 people. I'm working on looking through different calls and trying to figure it out. Sometimes you just hear their voices, sometimes you see their faces.
To lead. They can't let their sons see them cry. They can't let their sons see.
That's incredibly toxic. Please don't valorize war and the trauma caused by it. Don't get me wrong, that trauma is real and deserves to be dealt with and talked about, and like, people deserve help with that. But I also feel like valorizing that trauma and acting as though that trauma is a rite of passage is really unhealthy. That's not good. You should be working to prevent others from feeling the same pain you felt in the traumas you've gone through in the military, not treating as though it is a part of development and that your sons should go through that. Fucked up.
Them unload all this stuff until they too have actually gone through it. Until they too have tasted the fire of perseverance and all the things required to be able to call yourself a soldier. You too have signed on the dotted line and willingly given any amount in defense of our republic.
Isn't the Starship Troopers, the book, completely bonkers, but the movie is self-aware and brilliant satire? The book plays it straight. The book is, I believe, a Heinlein book that is very in line with his ideals about, like, the competent man, the man who can, you know, put a camp together, scrounge for food, hunt, so, like, the kind of person who's entirely self-sufficient. It has a very pull yourself up by your bootstraps mentality. It does follow these things that are very fascistic and weird, you know, but it plays it straight, you know? So yes, the movie is satire, but the book is not.
That's when you're entitled to sit at the fire. The act of autographing that, in my mind, means that you were brave enough to step into
Yeah, deliver a baby. There's a whole list. I don't remember the list off the top of my head.
that area. I don't
Ashley, one up. Boomer voice. All the trauma I faced made me the person I am today, and I'm fine. Knocks back a fifth of Jack so I can sleep.
really care what happened after that unless you did something that was dishonorable, you hurt somebody, anything else. I am very reticent to believe any so-called bullshit admiralty record. Why? Because people lose 98% of the time in trials in admiralty courts. Why? Because it's designed that way. If you want to look at a system that is absolutely not fair, all you need to do is look at the court processes, in my opinion, associated with the UCMJ. There is not any protection in there for the soldier, and it's intended to be that way. Why? Because it's efficient. That's the one thing about the military you cannot argue. They don't waste money.
Gotta play that again real quick.
And it's intended to be that way. Why? Because it's efficient. That's the one thing about the military you cannot argue. They don't waste money.
You know, if he questioned if Chief Mahto here understood anything about anything, that should be emblematic to you of how little he understands the world around him, that he thinks the United States military never wastes money. M. Scheffler with 38 months says, hi all, how's it going? Hope you're doing well.
They have one item and it has 4 different uses.
Oh, also, side note, he's a flat earther. Have I mentioned that? I don't think he mentions it in this video, but I was going through his other videos today. He's a flat earther.
Whereas we in the consumer world, they have 4 different items for one use. So that's why everything in their society is...
Doesn't understand their problem is capitalism on the bingo card. Redundancies in the market is a part of capitalism. What?
different. Their street signs are different. Colors of their vehicles are different. The uniforms they wear are different. Same reason why, if you're in a uniform, you can't walk into a public court. Why? Because it's a different society.
What?
The judge is on his game. He's going to tell you.
I've
get
literally...
counsel with
oh shit, I skipped ahead. Sorry. Get back to where we were. I've literally seen people in military uniform in court. What?
His name was Mahto Chaka
Where
Taiopiota.
were we?
Again, you may kiss my ass. Talking this has to be recorded. A perverted twist in Latin that has now been converted and willingly given any amount in defense of our republic. Destroying the destroyers of the earth. That script, they too have actually gone through it.
Where were we?
Until they too have tasted the fire of being peaceful, because our commander-in-chief in Washington City for 2020, the Bar Association's child and human trafficking scheme, at all to keep property that doesn't belong. Man, don't tell me this happened. Okay.
I'm sorry, I keep
Mahto
losing
Nation
where we
Dex.
were.
So you're going to think that you have a right to protect why everything in their society is different. The defense of our republic. Men weren't allowed there. Why? Because they had nothing to say.
Okay, we're
that
getting
these
closer.
warriors needed or designed that way.
Okay, there we go.
If you want to look at a system that is absolutely not fair, all you need to do is look at the court processes, in my opinion, associated with the UCMJ. Under martial law, yes. Same reason why, if you're in a uniform, you can't walk into a public court. Why? Because it's a different society. The judge is on his game. He's going to tell you, get out of here. Can't be in there. Because you're representing a different society. It's a military society. Now, we're all still technically under martial law, yes?
No, we're not under martial law. You would know if we were.
However,
You would probably get a text about it.
it hasn't been properly invoked to where we have, our soldiers out there on the streets with weapons. So,
It's
going
martial
forward, White
law,
Buffalo Warrior
except in any of the ways that would make it martial law.
is awarded this declaration whether he accepts adoption or not. Has nothing to do with whether or not he decides he wants to be an uncle to the chief. Why? Because he's earned it. That's why.
I'm going to assume that uncle to the chief has some kind of, like, cultural meaning? Or at least he thinks so? I don't know.
For destroying the destroyers of the earth, that's scripture. And those who buy and sell the souls of scripture
Or maybe he thought calling Trump his daddy would be too on the nose. I don't know.
of children and men, that's scripture. His consistent and proven loyalty to the 574 American indigenous tribes and all other U.S. citizens. His consistent and proven loyalty to we the people, American Indian state citizen
Ryan.
nationals. This is your Article 4 state citizen. This up here, that's your 14th Amendment U.S. citizen that 99% of Americans don't know they are. Draining the corporate swamp in Washington, D.C. for placing his family, wealth, and safety in jeopardy multiple times to fulfill his oath of office. He is entitled to a sacred robe for bravery by facing the evil ones who harmed Yahuwah's innocence. The buffalo robe is the highest and rarest honor the Mahto Nation bestows on any non-member. Remember, we used to decorate our enemies in the field of battle, on the field of battle. Trump obviously is not our enemy.
I understand the general meaning, Harold Edelman. Lots of cultures refer to close people to a family or close people as uncles or aunts or some variation of that kind of thing. I'm aware. It's weird that he's using it in this specific context, and I wasn't sure if it had some origin in some actual indigenous verbiage, that he had translated.
Trump represents a separate nation, but that nation is part of, or the Mahto tribe is part of the United States of America. That's who we have an unmitigated.
But you said you were sovereign. You can't be sovereign and a part of the U.S.
loyalty to.
Not in the way you're describing, at least, because you don't have any rights to that. You can't do that.
Is a republic. That's why all of our law enforcement officers are veterans, because we know they're loyal. We know they're trained. I'm not worried about a veteran with one of my plates rolling up, pulling me over, dragging me out of my private conveyance, stealing.
Yeah, you're the cult leader. Of course you're not worried. They're not going to pull you out of the car. You're the guy doing it, the thing. He's not upset with the concept on a boot stomping on a human neck forever. He just wants to make sure it's his boot and not his neck. He's fine with the boot and the neck situation.
Stealing my property and refusing to return it. Never had it happen. Never had a veteran even tell me that he's uncomfortable or she's uncomfortable because there happens to be a weapon there. Why? Because we know how to use them properly. I will submit for the record, if you're afraid of an armed American who's a law-abiding man or woman, you shouldn't be in a uniform.
Sir, you weren't law-abiding. You weren't law-abiding. That's one of the reasons they took your guns.
In my opinion, you're a coward. And an uneducated one at that. There's nobody I would rather trust than armed U.S. military veterans or active duty military men and women around me at all times. Why? Because they're loyal to the Republic. Those are my people. I don't give two shits what a bunch of bar association traitors to the Republic have to say about some Idaho assumed business name that they pretend they have, autographs or contracts with. Everything that they do is coerced under threat of unlawful incarceration. What would any intelligent man do? This is to say nothing of the fact that every single one of them engaged in this entire conspiracy is guilty of one overriding, very important thing. That's called misprision of felony, misprision of treason. Instead of telling me all the reasons why my paperwork isn't correct in violation of Miranda v. Arizona, where substantive rights are concerned, there can be no rulemaking which would abrogate them. You're trying to tell.
Sir, did you just try and say that it's wrong that they told you filled out paperwork incorrectly because it's against your rights?
Tell me I'm not entitled to remedy. I'm not entitled to get my weapons back because I happen to refer to them as firearms. So you're going to think that you have.
I don't think that what you call them is the issue. They're guns. There's a specific definition. You put bullets in them, they go bang, and it shoots the bullets. It's a gun, it's a firearm. Doesn't matter what you call them. The name isn't the issue.
A right to pretend like you're stupid? Like you don't hear what I'm saying? It's very simple. Forrest Gump could figure this out on bath salts.
I'd watch that.
But you can't wrap two and two together and say, hey, this is an Indian we probably shouldn't steal from. He's never going to go away. He doesn't let people take his property. That's a fundamental inherent right woven into the fabric of every Native American. We may share our stuff with other Indians because we are a sharing culture, but I do not deal with thieves. They have just one step up from kitty touchers, in my opinion, because you take what does not belong to you.
Very concerned with the consistent obsession with pedophilia that, like, sovereign citizens, right-wing people, conspiracy theorists have. It's just constant. They're just thinking about pedophiles all the time. Ugh.
You. Why? Because you're fearful you'll never be able to earn it. So instead, you steal it. People like that, when it takes law-abiding Americans 5 years and we still can't get our weapons back, there is a problem.
You're not, to my understanding, a law-abiding citizen. That's why they took the guns. That's the point. What? Just a Peach with a $1 tip says, Kitsap County, where Gig Harbor is, most of the cops are any kind of vets. Half the boomers who live here are vets married to real hippies. Some of us are young hippies married to active duty. My dad still lives there.
People. That is a serious problem, and it flies in the face of everything that the Republic for the Constitution stands for.
Will Kale says, to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised that this guy will get a job in Trump's third term. This guy literally is sending a letter to Trump to ask to be put in charge of some group that's, like, in charge of indigenous relations. And when he said that, I laughed at first, and then I went, oh god. There's a non-zero chance that happens. Like, I don't know what to say at this point. I can't even make jokes. Too bleak.
Am I the only American Indian who's loyal to the Republic, who happened to be a veteran, who understands the difference between the Republic and the democracy? I cannot be the only one. All it takes is 2 minutes of reading to understand. It's very simple. Think of DC like a Costco membership. Your social security number, your birth certificate, that gets you into their system, and you can't.
Except no, it's not, because Costco is like a private company that you choose to be a part of, whereas being a citizen of a government is just a thing. If you're a birthright citizenship, if you're born in the United States, just are. You just are. And even if you're not a citizen, while you're in the area, you're still subject to the jurisdiction of the area that you're in, because you're there, and that's the nature of jurisdiction.
Can't get out. Not unless you do some very specific, very important things like assume business name filing, get the correct everything in place. Or they will continue to pretend.
Bill Kale says, by the way, I'll be rooting for Canada for the upcoming war. Me too, but don't tell anyone.
It's like when they take property and they don't want to return it, that they have a right to ignore all correspondence.
Rick M with 150 stream streak says, streak! And Freyline says, wait, Trump hates Native Americans. I'm assuming this guy doesn't know or care that Trump is extremely anti-Native sovereignty. You gotta understand that a lot of people like this who are crackpots and Trump supporters, which is a lot of them, they don't think of Trump the way you and I do. Trump is like a vague idea that they have plugged all of their, like, grievances into, and anything that they're upset about, they assume Trump is upset about. They have, like, a really unhealthy parasocial relationship with the character of Donald Trump that they have created in their heads, basically. Kind of like with the Bed Bath & Beyond people or the GameStop people and Ryan Cohen. Like, there's a real Ryan Cohen, but he's very different than the Ryan Cohen they envision. A lot of Trump supporters are not supporting Trump, the real guy with real opinions. They're supporting Trump that lives in their head, that they think exists.
Correspondence, even though they are there working
Hydrate, will do.
in commerce. I've never heard of that. How does a sitting mayor and city council...
To be clear, I'm not trying to, get anyone off the hook for supporting Trump, by the way. Often the version of Trump they have in their head is just as bad, if not worse, than the real Trump. I'm just trying to illustrate why there's inconsistencies between what they espouse to believe and what Trump believes. Because they're not thinking about the real Trump. They're thinking about the one in their head that they think is the real Trump.
Have any right to ignore correspondence from one of we the people. Aren't they there for us? Doesn't even the Washington corporate constitution created in 1881 state that we the people of the territory of Washington do not allow our public servants to tell us what we may and may not know? Didn't it specifically retain all rights for the people? Even in that document where everybody got hoodwinked? Why do I say hoodwinked? Because you need to read the original Oregon Treaty that created the territory of Washington's government.
Am I saying MAGA worships the Trump they made along the way? Kinda, yeah. Yeah. Did you see that Ron and Jim Watkins, the people behind Q, at least after Q moved to 8chan, are doing a crypto coin scam and saying that if they make enough money on it, they're going to be honest and tell everyone the real story about Q? Just a Peach with a $1 tip says he probably doesn't like Costco because it shares Washington liberals' beliefs.
Organic Act for Washington that created that. That's the law. The rest of this is statutory bullshit. And you have to understand case law to get it. They always tell you the truth. You just have to know what the words mean. So when they are specifically telling you in Erie Railroad case, the difference between being in the Republic or being in the corporate area, when they tell you in the 14th Amendment, all those born in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are 14th Amendment U.S. citizens.
Oh, how did I not foresee this? Oh my goodness, I've never thought about the wording of that before and how a sovereign citizen might consider it. They're reverse engineering it and saying, well, I'm not subject to the jurisdiction of the courts, therefore I'm not a citizen, because they're claiming they don't have jurisdiction, and if they think they're not subject to this jurisdiction thereof, therefore they're not citizens. They're affirming the consequent. God damn it! Oh no! Oh. Sorry, I'd not considered that before, that they would interpret it that way. Fuck me.
Why were you born in the United States? Because you were born in a military ward. You had a doc tender create a registration certificate and they pretended like you volunteered. This is why they put mom's maiden name on the certificate, so they can create a pretext that you're a bastard.
No, it's for identification purposes. Also, I don't know if you know this, but I don't know what else to call it. A kid out of wedlock, a bastard child, whatever. Not the greatest nomenclature. That's not like illegal, and you don't lose rights if your parents aren't married. So I don't know what he thinks that has any bearing on anything. Not what it is. They're asking for her maiden name for identification purposes. That's it. It doesn't mean anything beyond that. But even if what he was saying was true, it doesn't confer or defer any rights for you to be a kid with married parents or not.
Oh, you're a war.
I should have a detective hat if I don't already. I do. I have a deer stalker cap around here somewhere. I just don't know where.
Part of their corporate entity based out of DC, and they own you. Now they can create all these debts against this all caps name and pretend like your body is surety for those debts. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Until you've read the documents that I am stating here that I'm referring to, shut your pie hole if you disagree.
Hats off.
And I mean that
where
literally.
The deer stalker, I'll have to find
I will not abide idiots. If you refuse to educate yourself, you refuse to read, you have no business attempting to be part of any Mahto nation or any Mahto village. You deserve to be a slave. I will not blame anybody for the path or the point in the path of knowledge that it requires to learn all this stuff that they may be on. Once it comes to their knowledge that the path exists, the second you know the path exists, but you're complacent, you would rather be entertained, you got better shit to do than to sit there and learn, I have no business even speaking to you.
Oh no, it lost the tie. Hold on, let me.
You're not worth my time. Why? Because you decided to be willingly ignorant, and the scriptures warn against that. The buffalo robe, for these brave acts serving the people, the chief is obligated. Why? Because I have to honor the tribe. The tribe always acts with honor. That means that when somebody is entitled to be decorated, we decorate them. To offer the white buffalo warrior adoption into Yahuwah's Mahto tribe. Why? Because only the
that's
best
Trump.
need apply. What do I mean by the best? Those men who were not afraid to go out
Black's Law Dictionary request, page 420, fifth word.
and put their money where their mouth is. Those men who are not afraid, in spite of the fact that they will become targets, to stand up and create their own nation and everything else. Why? Because it's an obligation to the Most High. If somebody decides I'm worth taking out because now we have a legitimate, bona fide, peaceful nation of American Indians who have authority.
Delusions of grandeur to believe that anyone is looking to assassinate him. Putting it out there. Page 420, fifth definition, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Discussion. In the Civil War, in the civil law, a proceeding at the instance of a surety by which the creditor is obliged to exhaust the property of the principal debtor towards the satisfaction of the debt, before having recourse to surety, and this right of the surety is termed the benefit of the discussion.
To patrol our own lands, fine. Then I died in service to something greater than me. If instead I find somebody who is now amenable to assisting with us
Get me a
in
hat rack,
increasing
yeah?
the GDP, I've got a dynamite plan laid out. We have a dynamite plan to privatize everything, to kick all of the ones who do not want to follow the Constitution for the Republic the hell out. They don't want to follow the law, pack your shit and get back to DC. Why? Because we have a territorial government after July 4th. That's what this notice is for. Pay attention. The nations raged, but your wrath came, and the time for the dead to be judged, and for rewarding your servants, the prophets and saints, and those who fear your name, both small and great, and for destroying the destroyers of the earth. The Mahto nation and all other Sioux and Assiniboine bands had varying traditions regarding decorating for bravery. Chief Mahto has the non-surviving right to unilaterally decorate, adopt, or banish any members. A word ceremony to deliver the sacred buffalo robe.
I like that he has unilateral rights to a ton of stuff, you know, like a cult leader.
Is scheduled as part of the opening ceremonies for the dedication of the Mahto headquarters and Class 3 gaming operation in the Teton Mountain Range near Rexburg, Idaho. That's where I plan to put it. Why? Because according to treaty, that's where I'm entitled to get acreage to do this. Including
again, he's claiming to be indigenous. I don't believe he is. And he's going to try and get land from the federal government to start this, what I would consider a cult.
Farming. Go read the treaty or shut up. So this was sent out before. This was November 27th of last year. This was the resolution of Mahto Ministries Quorum Board of Directors. Why is this relevant to the Mahto Nation? Because the Vatican owns all U.S. citizens. Game recognizing game. Mahto Nation has a different set of Elohim. We do not believe in your God, your LORD, or your JC. We do not believe in the name for the Most High that ends in way. Instead, we believe in the name of Yahuwah, his son Yahushan, the set-apart spirit. We cannot make you...
Annie Kai says, I looked him up and found one of his online profiles. He's also claiming to be African-American. I'm pretty sure he's a white guy, though. Yeah, that's been my read on the situation, too. And in fairness, I don't know. It's possible he's like 1/16th something and 1/16th something else. I'm not saying there's, you know, nothing but white guys in his genetic pool, you know? We all got big family trees, you know? But it does feel like he's adopting identities that are not commensurate with his actual life or experiences. I could be wrong. I put that out there. Like, if it came out that, oh, no, this guy totally is, and I'm the asshole, I would still think he's very wrong about all this stuff, but I would still feel bad about misidentifying him, you know? But no, it just kind of feels like he's delusional, which is a shame. Did an adult really just say game recognizes game? He did.
Learn. We cannot make you follow what the actual Hebrew says, nor are we interested. Do it your way. It's gotten you exactly where you're at. Let's keep going. So we're putting them on notice here. This is the Vatican, the Holy See, the eyeball on the back of all of your instruments called US dollars. International Court of Justice. This is the UN. United States Court of Federal Claims. This is the one in New York City. Why? Because the UN owns Manhattan, and as a result, this is a foreign court.
The UN does not own Manhattan. The UN has its headquarters in New York as of right now. That may change given the state of the world, but as of right now, the UN headquarters is there. It does not own New York, if I need to say that.
According to my friend, it's the only common law court left. This is
Okay, well, your friend is wrong. Your friend is wrong. Make new friends. But keep the old. One is silver and the other gold.
the one in DC. This is for President Trump. This is for Pope Queen Rivera.
I hate my ADHD so much. I hate my brain.
This is the lady who is in charge of national or Native American affairs for the White House Council. So I'm giving this to the proper authorities. Why? Because I have faith they'll comply. They'll do their duty. Look what Trump's done for us so far.
Yeah, such as gestures around at horrifying things happening.
So clerks of courts, I, Chief Mahto, senior pastor of Mahto Ministries, have been appointed and accepted. That's a component part of any appointment as a trustee. It must be accepted. Attorney in fact position, as well as a domestic agent in commerce for Mahto Ministries, doing business as the Mahto tribe by the lawful legal governing board of Yahuwah's American Indian state citizen members in all of your courts and banking entities. Mahto Ministries, doing business as the Mahto tribe, retaining our de jure sovereign American Indian state citizen indigenous authority within all jurisdictions. In other words, I don't waive the right to convict and hang any foreigner who violates our laws. You tell me where we don't have this right.
You don't have the right to murder people. Yeah, I think that's set in state. I don't think I need to elaborate further. You do not have the right to unilaterally murder people. So, yeah, don't do that. Hello, FBI, is this a threat on the bingo card? Is he a recognized nonprofit? Not that I'm aware of. Not that I'm aware of.
We're not stating that we have a right to do anything on the national level. And I'm asking, you tell me, do we not have this right?
No, he seems so confident when he says it too. Isn't it scary how confident he seems to be in his right to arrest, try, and execute people that he disagrees with? Yeah.
It's in the bottom of this, but it's inherent, it's implied, it's actually stated. So nobody can accuse me of trying to do anything illegal. I'm giving you the opportunity to correct shit. If you don't correct shit, tell me how we don't have a right to correct it ourselves.
Okay, again, you don't have the right to murder people you disagree with. Just putting that out there, man. It was nice living in a high trust society for the first, 20, 25 years of my life. That was pretty good. That was pretty sweet. We should strive for that again someday. Be after I'm gone, but I don't know. Someone work on that. Get right on that stat.
Please open a miscellaneous case file for Mahto Ministries, doing business as the Mahto tribe in each of your jurisdictions for the express purpose of exercising a limited admiralty license on behalf of our tribal courts and our tribal members. That means our offspring, reserving all Yahuwah-given rights and indigenous American Indian authority without prejudice. So let's go over here to this other one. That was the fee. Okay, there's the first part, 7.
Ooh,
all right.
He made his own seal.
So it cut off like a ton of the pages here, but let me go in. Oh, there it is. Hold on one second. Hey, I'm wondering why it did that. Yeah, it cut off like the vast majority. There's only one I really want people to see right now. That's kind of important, and that's the actual letter to the Secretary of the Treasury, or excuse me, to the Secretary of the Department of the Interior. That letter is critical for people to understand because it has the cursive, it has the relevant parties, and again, it's about, hold on, let me scan this. Oh golly, I should probably just delete all these since they didn't come through anyway. Oh wait.
Our fearless leader, everyone. Scanning documents is hard.
Wait a minute. They did come.
Just,
I'm just dumb.
just a reminder, it's 9:29.
Thank you. Certificate of identity. Okay, this is for me. Blocked out the social security number. No social security number for Chief Mahto.
I'm gonna move that. He didn't block that out very well.
Here to the present. This
I'm just gonna put that out there. I don't like this guy, but he should not flash that. You could. Oh, this guy. Oh, this guy. Oh, this guy. Oh, this guy. Okay, don't. Hot tip. Don't try and scribble out your social security number poorly and then show it on stream. I don't think you should even show it if you scribble it out. I'm just gonna put this out there. Don't do that. What this guy's doing is very, very stupid.
The date of birth. All rights reserved without prejudice. Pop up to here.
Okay.
You know, this miscellaneous case filing that Chief Mahto is doing business as Mark.
Oh, good. He's doing his business filing in Comic Sans.
Marcus Troy Ream and all amalgamations. That includes the Marcus Ream entity that I'm not the grantor of, that these jerks are pretending in the family law court filing is actually valid. And somehow that got converted to this under a child support agreement from that exact case that didn't have that name. That's kind of an interesting thing, don't you think? Nunc pro tunc to March 1375 in the County of Pierce Territory for Washington and all other jurisdictions. Chief Mahto has been appointed as domestic authorized representative for the above Idaho assumed business name, doing business as a...
I like that his little seal of his, like, logo, he couldn't even make it a PNG, which it's not hard to turn something into a PNG like this. I could do it in about 5 minutes if I wanted to, if that. And that includes, like, downloading the initial image and opening up the program. Very quick to make a PNG. But nope, he just stuck the full, like, JPEG with the white square directly onto the document like it's a seal. Thank you, Paha. Terradona says, how to tell someone isn't serious in on font. In on font. That was worded strangely.
Foreign entity in the territory of Washington. So, Chief Servant...
In one font. It was missing an E. It took me a sec. One font.
Right here, you can see that. Pop up here. Okay, here's the actual copy. They tried to do this under that name, Marcus Ream. Again, not the name on the Social Security card. Not even the name on the credit card, the debit card that I used. So that's impressively fraudulent. I had him... correct.
Basically, he has cards that he has, I think, under the actual name Chief Mahto because he uses that as a DBA. And I think he got served for something under his legal name, and he's claiming because they served his legal name and not his DBA, that means it shouldn't count. A DBA is like a doing business as, by the way, if you don't know. It's like it's a name that you go under for business purposes, but it's not necessarily a legal name. You can use that, but like what he's doing isn't true. You can't claim that you need to serve his DBA in order for it to be legitimate, I don't think.
Put Chief Mahto. Why? Because now Chief Mahto owns this document, not this all caps name Marcus Ream that I'm not the grantor of. You starting to see how these slick assholes work? So pop down here, assume business name, very simple to understand. Here is the flag for the Mahto tribe and Mahto Nation. This is my, not flag, but my license plate. Notice of conveyance. This is the non-UCC filing that has all of the bonds that I created. Here is the agencies that I mailed all this stuff to. So these guys have all been put on notice of what that plate means and who it is owned by. Most importantly, it's owned by the church. So here is, oh man, where is it? Okay. Record of Native American tribal adoption and banishment. I've changed this a little bit. Gold Star parents, warrior widows, all orphans, fallen warrior offspring. Donald Trump, Julian Assange, Edward Snowden, Andrew and Tristan Tate, all honorably discharged American veterans. These members are permanently banished. Unrepentant.
Why? Okay, so he also thinks that the Tates are great people? Okay.
Bar Association members. I can recognize the fact people make mistakes. They should be.
His list of people who are official, like honorary members are Trump, Julian Assange, Edward Snowden, Andrew and Tristan Tate, and all honorably discharged American veterans.
Have an opportunity to go ahead and rectify that. That includes any secret societies.
Of course, he likes the Tates. He hates women. Yeah. We're basically in a war with the cultic milieu, and it's the stupidest thing ever, and I hate it. May you puke now? You may.
I'm not going to assume that just because you're in a group that, you knew everything going into it. However, again, you have been noticed.
Kitara says, he says that the agencies have been put on notice, but what likely happened is that they got mail and went, what the hell is this, and threw it away. Yep, that's what sovereign citizens tend to do. They send nonsense paperwork into offices, they go, what the fuck is this, and just put it away or whatever, and they assume because they, I don't know, didn't call them or whatever, it must have been accepted, it's official.
That if you're a law-abiding American, you have no business taking an oath to a foreign entity. That's treason. I don't care how philanthropic your organization is. If you're taking an oath.
He thinks that becoming a lawyer and passing the bar, he thinks that it's taking an oath to a foreign entity because sovereign citizens have been told that the bar stands for British Accreditation Registry. So they think that when you pass the bar, become a lawyer, that you are pledging allegiance to Britain. You're not. The bar does not stand for anything. That's not what it is. It's never had that acronym. That's just a thing someone made up, and a bunch of sovereign citizens started spreading it. It's not true.
To a foreign entity, and you're promising to hold their laws, their regulations above those of the Republic, you're a traitor. No other way to say it. You're a traitor to we the people. And like the scriptures say, you will know them by their fruit. Hence, Bar Association members teaching law enforcement officers who were just out there trying to feed their families. Notice the chicken shit Bar Association, they don't come out there themselves. They send unwitting law enforcement officers who will follow orders and not ask questions. Why?
I know that you're like joking, Professor Daddy, but I assume he would basically say, he would probably say, I don't accept it. He wouldn't consider it like, oh, they got me. He would go, well, I'm not accepting this. They bought it, but I don't accept it, so it doesn't count. And those are bullshit anyway, which even he would find out because it would fall within the things he wants to believe. A lot of conspiracy theorists are perfectly capable of finding information. It just has to be information that they agree with for them to accept it. So if he found that and was like, this is bullshit, and looked up that it's bullshit, he would accept that because he doesn't want it.
Because they got their back. They do something, they violate your rights, they just won't bring charges, they won't punish them. They know what they're doing. This is their own civilian army. But they're Americans who think they're out here working for Americans. There's nothing about protecting and serving an admiralty court. For 99.9% of all cases, it's about generating revenue and trying to enslave some man or woman under this fraudulent bullshit admiralty debt. That's how these guys work. It's about stealing property. It's about putting these debts against your estate, then coming in, foreclosing, and taking all of everything from every American. That's why, as a U.S. citizen, you're not allowed to own property. Do you want to know how you don't own your property?
Private property is like one of the key. I'd argue that the right private property is one of the foundational beliefs of the American populace, shared by the vast majority of Americans. I'm not talking about personal property either. I'm talking about private property. I think the vast majority of Americans agree with the idea that people have a right to private property. So I think that's hilarious that he thinks that.
Property, you're paying taxes on it.
You don't have property taxes in every state. Fun fact, some states don't. They make up for it in higher sales tax or state tax or other taxes.
That's how you know you don't own it. Using the word property means that you're ignorant. You should be using the word land and home. Not house, not residence.
Semantics don't matter in this case. It's not going to matter what you call it. It's real property.
You have lands. You have metes and bounds for those lands. Those are recorded. So is the trust that owns the property. So is the request or letter to Department of Secretary of Interior asking them to transfer everything into the Sioux Land Book if you're part of my nation, or just into your own IIM account if you decide to be an individual Indian out there and your own chief. You can do that. You're an American Indian. You don't need to be part of this nation. And again, this nation isn't for everybody. This nation is for people with ears to hear and eyes to see. We understand why it's important to be part of it. Why it's important to protect our fellow members.
Ashley, one up with a link.
God, Karen, you are so stupid.
Why it's important to educate all of our public servants. Why? Because we're the good guys. And the good guys don't hide. The good guys aren't afraid to do
They do if they want to win. I'm gonna put this out there. Get this deontological shit out of here. If you think you're the good guys and you're like, oh, we're the good guys, we can't do underhanded things. I'm gonna quote Dark Helmet here, okay? This is why evil always prevails, because good is dumb. Get your deontological ethics out of my necessary action towards the betterment of society.
a video and tell everybody else. Tell you
What
what,
have I even doing
you
here,
go
man?
ahead and round up any one of my detractors, and I'm going to promise you that after they stand in front of a 15-man Mahto jury, they're going to have second thoughts about whether or not they should have done that. Why? Because it's a crime, according to tribal traditions, to demean or besmirch the chief. And unless they can prove to me how we don't have a right to adopt an amendment to the Constitution by virtue of joining the nation in any village.
Tar with 100 bits says, oh, speaking of nonsense paperwork, I work for one of the primary care health networks here in Michigan, and we get demands and notices from conspiracy theorists every now and then, usually about us, quote, poisoning the community with vaccines and, quote, indoctrinating, mutilating children for various reasons, usually because the kid is not cis-het or because we're pro-choice. Oh, lovely. It's so nice that we have so many completely unhinged and angry people surrounding us all the time. Real fun.
Then, by virtue of joining, we also ratify the amendment that makes it a crime to defame somebody, brings them in front of a 12-man jury. You want to talk about one of my members? You want to do your fake news bullshit about the Mahto Nation? You want to call us anti-American, anti-government anything? Okay, you go ahead and do that. Do it somewhere publicly. And then you will have a warrant for your arrest issued after our July 4th elections, if treaty provisions are not actually enforced. And even after that, that's why I'm asking President Trump, please assist me in finalizing the Constitution for the Mahto Nation.
Trump doesn't know you exist. He doesn't care about you. God damn it.
Pick whoever you're dealing with. I don't care which foreign nation it is. Pick one. Pick the court. If you accept
I once heard recently that those who know history or who don't know history are doomed to repeat it, and those who do know history are doomed to sit around and watch other people who don't know history repeat it impotently. I don't have a point.
adoption, if you decide to do this, you can fix everything that you're dealing with in Congress in one fell swoop. Why? Because you have authority to appoint or affirm anybody on the territorial councils, including our territorial chief. It's in this. Keep going. So this explains how we honor our veterans, how we honor our Gold Star family members. This is the signature page for that. Here's the one I wanted you to actually see.
Dronder says, you're literally describing yourself as separate from government in the government's land. How is this not anti-government? This is where this identity thing, I think, comes into play, because to him, he views anti-government behavior as seditious. He views it as evil. As far as he's concerned, he's grown up in a society where separatists from the government, anti-government stuff, is bad, especially considering he clearly has right-wing views that usually valorize hierarchy, staying in line, stuff like that. But he also has this part of him that is deeply upset with the system and how it operates and his perceived slights from that system, which has led to this weird split where he is clearly wanting to be separate from the government, but is also dealing with this mental block that prevents him from being self-aware about that or fully embracing what he's doing, because it's incongruent with his beliefs and worldview largely, but he still feels the need to go through with it, so he twists himself into knots, trying to both be this weird MAGA patriot, air quotes, while also doing this weird seditious cult stuff? It's very strange. It's interesting. It really is. Also, I don't smoke tobacco, but I do see how pipes became very popular. They're very satisfying to fidget with and to do business with, and you just put them in your mouth from time to time. That's satisfying. Just a peach with a dollar tip says, until the 90s, Kitsap sucked ass about having good property records. They got better when they scanned them and did aerial matching. Property taxes there are not bad, according to my dad. They are the main taxes you pay.
Okay, 13th of
Jitara with 50 bits says he's begging for Trump to personally help him with whatever this is. Does he think the presidency works like an old-timey job where your grandparents go 1950s Atlantic accent, transatlantic accent? You want things to change? You march down there to the Oval Office and you demand change. Make sure you look the president in the eye and give him a firm handshake. Yeah, he seems to think so. He thinks that his parasocial relationship and worship of Trump means that Trump owes him something.
Tibet 5785, this is the Jewish calendar. Here is their calendar. Commissioner of Indian Affairs, Clerk of Court, President Trump, Attorney General McHenry III. Scheduling elections for the Mahto Nation, July 4th. Adoption offer, request for appointment or license as alien property custodian, future orders, and Mahto tribal court actions thereafter. I, Chief Mahto, doing business as Marcus Troy Ream, hereby accept all treaties and constitutional protections as the authorized representative and pastor for Mahto Ministries. By Chief Mahto, Marcus Troy Ream, all rights reserved. Mr. President, Attorney General, Clerks of Court, U.S. Department of the Interior, Secretary Burgum. Due to repeated unanswered pleas since 2014 to various Washington state and nearly all federal agencies regarding repeated and persistent violation of treaty laws, basic human rights, theft of arms and weapons, generational trafficking of myself, my family, my fellow Americans, and Yahuwah's precious children through the Vatican's copyrighted, trademarked Admiralty Law, Title 4D, Section 666 Child Support Program, using Article 1 Nisi Prius Courts and under duty as a U.S. Oh, man. Schmuck. Hold on.
I appreciate that part of his co-opting Jewish identity, he's added schmuck to his vocabulary. That's certainly something.
Under duty as a U.S. military veteran to protect the Constitution for the Republic. My fellow American Indians are babies and Yahuwah's adopted members from predatory foreigners operating within and or upon our traditional Indian lands. You are hereby noticed to notify the relevant state and lower agencies and all non-military, non-national agencies of the following for public safety. Disclaimer. Hold on, I got somebody at the door. I'll be right back. Okay, so
Request for appointment license to President Trump. Mr. President, whether you accept the attached offer of adoption or not, please consider appointing Chief Mahto, born Riam Marcus Troy, to the office of Alien Property Manager within the Republic, per the Trading with the Enemy Act of 1917, with full arrest authority and immunity while in the course of said capacity, or consider returning a license allowing the same to, and then it's other people. So he is literally not only asking for an appointment from Donald Trump, he's asking for an appointment that gives him, oh god, full arrest authority and immunity.
request for appointment / license to President Trump. Mr. President, whether you accept the attached offer of adoption or not, please consider appointing Chief Mahto, born Reem Marcus Troy, to the office of Alien Property Manager within the Republic per the Trading.
Bittergrin says the fact that there's people just sitting there on this phone call not calling him out is crazy. I mean, that's why they're there. They like him. They're his followers.
With the Enemy
They
Act
agree with this.
of 1917. With full arrest authority and immunity while in the course of said capacity, or consider returning a license allowing for the same to arrest, try, convict, execute, and seize all lands, accounts, and assets of all enemy combatant wrongdoers within all state and federal corporations, agents, tribes, and conspirators whose names appear in any case bearing the Idaho assumed business name Marcus Troy Ream, and all other victims for misprision of treason and multiple other misdemeanors and felonies, or have stolen from said estate or those of my family through apartheid actions for capital and lower offenses to the laws for the Republic and all existing treaties. All seized state, county, and tribal lands will be returned to the people of the appropriate Mahto territorial village council tribes to be established, or according to instructions, immunities, and limitations specified in any appointment. All tribal lands / assets will be distributed to immediate family, associate member victims of fully enrolled members and executive board members who conspired with foreigners to wage apartheid against their own offspring since 1934. That's what this is. Whether or not they want to admit it, it's apartheid. They're actually discriminating against their own offspring because of their incredibly impressive ignorance. Instructions to the Secretary of the Interior.
What is he saying is apartheid? I thought I'd get this better when I watched it the second time with you guys. What is he saying is apartheid? I am so confused.
They're actually discriminating against their own offspring because of their incredibly impressive ignorance. Instructions to the Secretary of the Interior per treaty and existing law. July 4th, 2025 is the date the Secretary is being noticed to schedule for the Mahto tribal elections in all village counties, all territory states. For the preamble for the Declaration, laws for the Republic, Treaty of Fort Laramie, international declarations, blah, blah, blah. It's all in the law. This explains the blood quantum requirement and how that is a part.
The blood quantum, oh duh, that's like what percentage of your ancestry is a certain thing in order to be a part of it. How much does he say is the minimum quantum?
Keep going. It's all in.
Let me see what it says. Comply with lawful orders given by their superiors, as all Mahto warriors knowingly and willingly waive our constitutional and international protections to serve our great nation, and will obey all orders of Donald Trump, the Commander-in-Chief for the Republic. In what way is this independent? You're swearing allegiance to Donald Trump! I'm gonna lose my mind. who the chief believes will honor his oath and treaty obligations, or he wouldn't have offered to adopt or decorate him, has accepted all protections of said international and national Indian treaties, reserving all rights, giving no consent to be sued in any foreign courts, and relies on the promises made therein in relation to the obligations of said governing authorities to provide personal and national protection for the chief, property in all Mahto territories and villages, and therefore expects President Trump to continue handling national affairs per treaty and directing our wonderful military, national agencies, etc. The state agencies and lower subsidiaries have proven to be clear and present danger to the safety and security of all American Indians due to failure to properly train our brave, wonderful, but average 85 IQ revenue agents. Oh my fuck. In the proper differentiation of their fellow U.S. citizen subjects, and we American Indians who live outside of their society and are entitled to keep and bear arms, the operative word being keep. He's still upset they took his guns. Fee schedule filed in Madison County, Idaho, clearly states 100 acres per day and 68,000 per day. Oh, his fee schedule includes land. Every day they keep his guns, he's claiming they owe him 100 acres of land. That's a new one. Let's see. The United States has appointed Chief Mahto as domestic agent in commerce for said ABN to recover said fees. The Indian Reorganization Act instituted the first blood quantum requirement for membership, thereby enticing ignorant, feckless, weak, and greedy tribal executive board members to engage in the traitorous, repugnant, shameful act of apartheid against their own offspring by denying benefits of tribal membership to their own due to an irrelevant, arbitrary, capricious, and nugatory standard that never existed among any traditional American. Oh, I see! I understand! Okay! Okay, he says it's apartheid because the indigenous groups won't give him benefits and stuff, won't let him in on their, like, you know, stuff, because he doesn't meet the requirements. He has been tested, and genetically, he is not indigenous, but he's demanding that he be treated as such, and saying that because they're excluding him from these indigenous groups, because he's not indigenous, that's apartheid. We get it! I get it! I get it! I got it! Good. There it is! Black and white, clear as crystal! You stole indigenous identity! You bumped into the Constitution, which now has to be washed. That's it. Good day, sir. I said good day.
In the law. This explains the blood quantum requirement and how that is apartheid. Keep going. Eligible members, any non-U.S. citizen, non-voter, non-resident, law-abiding American Indian man or woman or offspring thereof who has American nationality as a birthright or received American nationality through some other legal or lawful means as recognized by the laws for the republic, our republic. And
I'm really glad we have that confirmation that he's not actually indigenous. I'm not gonna lie, there was part of me that felt really bad and was like, is there a chance that this guy is and I'm just an asshole? Like, certainly everything he's saying is wrong, but am I calling, like, just a light-skinned indigenous person not, and I'm the asshole? Nope! He's a liar. I win. Turns out I was slightly less worse of a person than I maybe thought. So that's good.
Or is entitled to live and or work in the Republic for the United States. Associate members, any of the above who are incompetent to handle their minor accounts. And then 90%.
I think it's fair to say that probably the black thing is also a lie then. I think that's probably safe to say.
Until they qualify as fully enrolled. I'm going to let you guys read through all of this because time is of the essence. Anybody who's competent can be a fully enrolled member. And again, you have to agree to reduce the public debt, increase the GDP, and provide medical and quality of life services to veterans in each
Ashley One Up says this guy be like, did you just assume my race?
village in each county. Very simple. Any man, woman, or business entity or incorporated organization may open a private Mahto Ministries tribal wampum account. Why? Because it's private. We convert everything from these foreigners into our private wampum, and then we use it to
He calls their currency wampum because he's a racist white guy cosplaying as an indigenous person.
trade within our own lands and maybe elsewhere if we decide we want to travel there. But we're out to do business with everybody around the world. We're out to engage in commerce with all countries, utilizing our unique status to be able to do things that other nations just can't do. How about we start looking at possibilities rather than limitations? That's my recommendation. All Mahto territories adopt the de jure borders for the original American territory in which they are formed. There is only one Mahto territorial council per territory or state. They live by their laws. They have their legislative members. Trump may decide to appoint or affirm some of their legislative members. That's up to him. Not my job to handle national matters. It's our job that until we get our villages set up and they elect their own territorial chiefs, you got to have somebody in charge. That's our president's job. All we want to do is be left the hell alone to travel in peace and be able to preach the scriptures as
You don't
Yahuwah is
think wampum was even used where he's at? It's an East Coast thing? Yeah, I'm starting to think that Chief Mahto was maybe the consultant that they used on Voyager for Chakotay.
giving them to us. Again, we're not here to hurt anybody. We want to start working on all of our class 3 underground gaming casinos, have our biodomes above that.
Biodome. Okay. Not going to get into that because I'm just going to make Pauly Shore jokes. But I think it's pretty clear that part of this whole scheme is he wants to run casinos, and an easy way, well, I say easy, legally an easy way to get through some of the red tape of that is if you are indigenous and, you know, have your own, you know, reservation or area that is like its own land that is not necessarily under the jurisdiction of specific state or federal laws on that property. We have a decent number of those kind of casinos, like in Michigan, for instance. Bittergrin says, but he's in Idaho, and wampum was a word used by East Coast tribes. Again, he's a racist white guy pulling random pop culture crap that he has seen in movies and stuff about indigenous people. Like, that's why.
Start doing things for the American people. So, 7-fold armor protections, that's for the chief in my capacity as the servant of the Most High and servant of my fellow members. Again, chief is a title, not a belief. My belief is that I am a servant. This is why my name doesn't appear anywhere. It's my dad's name, or it's the Most High's name, or Yahusha's name. I'm irrelevant.
Oh, this fine print says they're going to take 10% of your income, by the way. The amount of 10% withheld from associate members is retained by the tribe to manage on behalf of the minor member. It'll be segregated to separate IM account with the treasury to be awarded upon successful completion of the Mahto fully enrolled member exam, which can be taken at any age. Wait, is this if you have a kid? I'm so confused. The amount of 10% withheld from associate members is retained by the tribe to manage on behalf of the minor member.
I'm just some flunky that was blessed to be able to come in here and serve as a bondservant to Yahusha. End of discussion. Nobody and nothing special outside of that. So violent felons, everybody else, they can't be in here. Here's a definition of Indian. Tells why 10% is withheld from all of these executive board members who...
Number 13 for definition of Indian. I would love... Can I see that? Show that. I want to see what your definition of that is.
Discriminate against their own, and while they'll never serve again for life on any future tribal council within the Mahto Nation, again, because we don't want traitors on there or cowards. So here we go. All Mahto villages, it tells where we adopt elected offices.
green guy with the dollar tip says, Hannah, I know what you're saying, but my brain is translating it into WAP. I like that song. Get a bucket and a mop for this wet-ass pussy. Greyline says, I'm gonna say he's just full of shit, but it's possible that one of his parents made the cut to be called native, but he does not. It's an unfortunate thing that kids can be born to a native parent raised by them on native land and not be considered part of the tribe because they do not make the cut. It's possible. He seems to have a not very good understanding of actual tribal stuff, though. And you'd think if that was the case, he would have a better understanding and respect for some of these things, you know?
Is the chief serves for life as the chief of the Mahto tribe, spiritual representative for Yahuwah's people, Mahto Ministries, chief justice for the Mahto National Supreme Court, national Mahto marshal, worldwide power of attorney for his people, and the chief's adopted family members in all court jurisdictions. He and all subsequent chiefs cast tie-breaking votes only
Isn't
on
it
the
weird
Mahto.
that Jesus is just their version of Josh? Yes. The name of Jesus is closer to like Yeshua, which the actual Anglo, why am I not able to think of the word? The anglicized version of which is Joshua, but it was translated from another thing first, and that's why we get Jesus? I don't remember, though.
National Tribal Council. I want to go down here to this Chief Justice notation. The chief delegates the affirmation appointment of the following justices. National Supreme Court, 8 of them. I would be the 9th. The chief resigns as the chief justice and asks the commander-in-chief to appoint another once
Aramaic first, then Greek, then Roman. That'll do it.
Treaty obligations are performed. Why is this? Because I don't want to deal with it. I am not here trying to go out and push any existing state or local agencies around. I simply want my property back.
He's not in a chief for life area. Yeah, but he thinks he deserves it, and he gets to make his own rules.
And I want to be able to go out and help build these villages. People who engage
Latin, not Roman.
in trafficking their fellow Americans for money, I'm going to tell you very transparently, you are white trash in my mind.
Why do you assume the people are white?
People who engage in trafficking their fellow Americans for money, I'm going to tell you very transparently, you are white trash.
He's talking about judges and cops, who I guess he assumes are all white, and he is calling them white trash. I've never really enjoyed the term white trash, because it still feels insulting to other races. Does that make sense? Leave it to white people to come up with an insult about white people that still seems more insulting to other groups of people than it does white people. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Bittergrin says around 2,000 years ago, the names would have been pronounced Yesu, which was written like Isu in Greek. When it went to Latin, they added the S because their masculine names ended that way, Marcus, Julius, etc. So Isus, then the I turned to a J over time. Yeah, they didn't have a J in that alphabet, which I know because of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. That's the cup of a carpenter.
In my mind. Anybody who is willing to violate the rights, the basic fundamental rights of their fellow Americans, traffic their kids, do anything like that, you need to read the scriptures where it says, woe to the lawyers. Do you honestly believe that the sovereign master of the entire universe won't hold those who helped the attorneys accountable? Is that really what you think?
When Jesus said woe to the lawyers in Luke, it was mostly directly referring to, like, the law upholders in the area at the time, the Pharisees, and, like, their legal apparatus that Jesus felt was not in line with scriptural truth. I don't think he was talking about modern lawyers. He was literally talking about the people in power at the time in Judea when he was alive. I don't think he was making a prescriptive statement about lawyers for all time. If Jesus even actually said that. You know my opinion on the Bible.
You know full well that you are assisting them in trafficking these kids in these courts, taking them away from good fathers to the tune of 33 dads a month killing themselves. I have 22 veterans statistically that kill themselves, but 33 dads.
Man, you should probably ask then why your boy Donald Trump and his boy Musk want to cut all sorts of government spending, including on, like veteran services and stuff. Crazy.
How does that happen? You give it to the most incompetent, inept, and absolutely helpless parent, the mother. Why? Because
That's just sexist. Not how women work in the, on the bingo card.
statistically, the man's the higher wage earner, so the bonds are higher. Don't overthink it.
If anyone ever tells you don't overthink it while they're telling you insane stuff, run away. They're trying to indoctrinate you, or they're a cult leader, or they're crazy, or some mix of those things. Do not trust people who tell you to don't overthink it in matters such as these. Don't get me wrong, if you're catastrophizing and you're, like, panicking, you might be overthinking something. But, like, if you're just trying to ask questions about how something works and someone's like, don't overthink it, they're scamming you, or lying to you, or trying to pull you into a cult, or something bad. No one reasonable who has your best interests in mind wants you to stop thinking about things. Ever. Ever.
Has nothing to do with children, has nothing to do with support, and everything to do with creating false debts, writs of attainder against good dads. That's what it's about. Go read up in the Constitution why writs of attainder were forbidden. However, since contract law is supreme law, you can contract your rights away. Like being coerced as a minor into getting a driver's license. Why? Because you're in a public educational system that's not going to tell you it's not required.
It is required if you want to drive a vehicle on public roads. It just is.
Unless you're hauling people products or you work for the government. Why? Because they have a financial interest in your dumbass getting a license. That's why.
Nope. They'd save a lot of money if no one drove, actually, on road maintenance and stuff, but no. They just recognize that it's necessary generally in American society to be able to drive in order to function, to go to work. We don't have good public transportation in the United States in most areas, so pretty much have to learn how to drive.
Because then when you violate one of their statutes, since they've commercialized all crimes, CFR 711.14, guess what? Your ass is now guilty until proven innocent. Because you agreed to abide by it.
Nope.
You tell me why your face is right next to an all caps name that's on a birth certificate and a social security card with your autograph on the back.
Sure, because it's an identification, it's an ID, it's there so you can be checked against, like, your name and databases and stuff, so people's potential, like, crimes can be kept track of. If they have points on their license, it can be kept track of. That's why there's a picture, so they can look at the picture and go, oh yeah, that's you, I recognize you, and then a name, so they can identify you via name. Pretty simple. It's bureaucracy.
Why is it there? Well, it's for identification. Is that the only way to get it?
Troy says, this guy has like zero charisma. He's so perennially aggressive and hostile, seemingly towards his own viewers. I'm not sure how this guy has any sort of sincere following. We get the impression that cults and other cult-like communities require really charismatic leaders. You gotta understand that charisma's relative. Look at someone like Donald Trump. A very large portion of people in America consider Donald Trump to be very charismatic. Charisma doesn't necessarily mean they're a likable person. In this context, charisma means they're able to spellbind people. People hear them, and it's something they want to hear. They're drawn in. They like it. They feel connected to what the guy is saying, and they think that that person is good for their best interest, right? They're wrong, but that's what they're feeling with their charisma, or whatever they consider charisma. People are also drawn to confidence, unfortunately. Just a Peach says, Washington has been pretty good about custody and family courts for about 20 years or more. they really like to have split care. Oh yeah, this guy's upset though because he's obviously not people every bit as angry as him. That can be part of charisma for people, is if they are angry and they find other people that share the same grievances as them, they feel like they can commiserate and they can get together and try and find what they consider solutions to their grievances.
Or do people still have home births? How did they get their identifications? Why would you put a bond on an all caps name? Because you can't
There isn't a bond on your name. It doesn't matter that it's in all caps.
take a bonded vessel.
That's funny, Troy.
And that's what that all caps name is on a birth certificate. It's a vessel. It's an entity. It's a corporation disguised as you. Why do I say disguised? Do you print your name or sign your name in all caps, fool?
The all caps thing is literally just because it's the most legible. That's the style guide in court documents and government documents in general, is because capital letters are differentiated much easier than lowercase letters at a glance. So that's why names like that, proper names of things, are in all capital, so there's less likelihood of transcription error, people reading things incorrectly, stuff like that.
You got to remember, you have a public and you have a private. I'll state it another way. You were born in the private. Social security number.
I was born from privates.
Birth certificate makes that entity public. The trick is knowing who is actually liable for any debts against that estate. It's not you. If you've read the law, go look on the back of your social security card if you don't believe me. You tell me who owns it. In fact, I've got mine right here in front of you for that entity. Watch this. Improper use of this card or number by anyone is punishable by fine, imprisonment, or both. This card belongs to the Social Security Administration.
Yep, same with your driver's license. Your driver's license belongs to the state. That way, they can ask for it whenever.
And you must return it if we ask for it.
Yep.
They sent this to me. If you read underneath that signature line, that doesn't actually have a solid line, kids. That's in micro print on purpose, so that you don't read that it says authorized user. All it says is signature. What's the difference between a signature and an autograph? There's a clue. So let's keep going. Village level must have a village council composed of 12 Mahto Indian men.
Ooh, he put some stank on that men thing. Does he understand that, like, there aren't very many women who would voluntarily join this? Like, there are gonna be the people who are unfortunately abused into relationships with guys like this that are gonna get dragged along. But does he understand that if he wants women in his society, it might behoove him, you know, give him some rights? There are other options, you know? It's one thing when you're in a society and there aren't really other options and you're just kind of, like, impotently stuck in that society. But this is like a little tiny cult, you know? Whatever. Women join cults that take away their rights all the time. That's the nature of cults. That sucks. So do men, by the way. Cults take away everyone's rights, though women tend to be worse off, unfortunately, in that regard, generally.
7 of whom must be honorably discharged American Indian veterans of good moral character. Why? Because that's what the
Harold Ebbelman says, I decided to punish myself twice over. Check out the photography section of your Discord for some truly horrifying details on Louisiana's outstanding history of mass incarceration. Oh, this is going to be depressing. Do 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 boo 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 doo. Can I open all of these at once? What's that ball? Let's see what that ball is. This ball weighs the same as the one in the case to your left, which Peggy was forced to wear. You may gently lift it. A piston mechanism will return it to its original position. Oh, that's scary! Oh, God. Let me see the actual ball. Ball and chain, literally. Ugh. On the night of July 9th, 1820, Peggy, an enslaved woman on a plantation in St. John the Baptist Parish, walked to a neighboring plantation and confronted another enslaved woman. Madeline about 2 dresses she had loaned her that had been returned in tatters. The encounter resulted in Peggy fatally stabbing a different enslaved woman, Catherine, in the chest. The court found Peggy guilty of manslaughter. Her punishment was to receive 39 lashes and to work at the service of her master for 3 years with a 13.5-pound iron ball attached to her leg. I hate human beings. We're just the worst species. I hope the dolphins or elephants or squids do better. See you with goblins. Thanks for gifting a sub.
The scriptures say, and that's what the Mahto tribe, owned by Mahto Ministries, must live by at a base level, is the scripture. Why? Because if we don't, then we are subjecting ourselves to the Vatican's law. For all of you wondering why Trump didn't have his hand on the Bible, why is that? Because the Vatican has the copyright and trademark on the Bible. If he had sworn by that...
No, I don't know who needs to hear this, but, no. So this is kind of a difficult topic when you're talking about copyright and something like the Bible. So the Bible is sort of a nebulous concept in and of itself, right? The Bible is what we refer to a variety of religious texts. Like there's a Catholic Bible, there's a Protestant Bible, there's an Orthodox Bible, and some have more chapters and some have fewer. But broadly, we're talking about the Bible that is these specific books, give or take some, depending on what kind of Christian you are, that contain these stories. The thing is, there are different versions of the Bible because there are many different translations. So specific translations of the Bible can be copyrighted. Like if you were to go into an older text of the Bible that's public domain, and you were to translate it yourself, you could hold the copyright on that version of the Bible that you have translated into specific wording and phrasing that you have chosen, right? But most versions of the Bible that are popular, for instance, like the King James Version, that's really old. That's public domain. So any company can really pick up and print a King James Bible as long as, they aren't directly stealing from a copyrighted version that already exists. So no, the Catholic Church does not own the copyright to the Bible. That's not how this works. There isn't one the Bible. It's not how any of this works. It belies a complete misunderstanding of many, many things, including the Bible, sectarianism, copyright law.
Now, he's just created a nexus between the Republic and their admiralty bullshit. You have to understand what you're watching. You have to understand what you're seeing. Again, some of us are out here wholeheartedly attempting to help our president. Why? Because we understand who the enemies are. It's those who would pervert or twist our constitutional protections for their own financial benefit. Hello, Bar. British accredited Regency, British accredited, whatever the other name is for it. But at the end,
he's thinking of registration, but it's not that. That's, again, a made-up acronym that sovereign citizens made up. Redundant.
At the end of the day, these are the guys that all the attorneys got to be licensed with to be able to get into their courts and, pretend like they're practicing something that's beneficial to the people, when in reality, it's about trafficking them. So let's keep going. Chief Justice for the Common Law Exclusive Equity Supreme Court for the Mahto Nation, Case 1, having firsthand knowledge of all facts in all admiralty cases pertaining to the Idaho assumed business name Marcus Troy Ream and the roles of all wrongdoers therein hereby orders. So in other words, if post July 4th, we don't have treaty protections, we as a independent sovereign nation, again, I'm asking them, if I'm wrong, give me evidence. Pretty sure I read in the preamble to the Declaration, says we have a right and a duty to do what we need to do. After the elections, any state or lower law enforcement policing agency operating under admiralty law on the land.
Is he aware, how... after America was founded in the early days, when there were, attempts at new coups against the newly formed American government or insurrection or anything like that, is he aware that, like, the same people that did the American Revolution didn't necessarily take kindly to people trying to put them out of power, right? Does he think that, like, the founders of the Constitution just agreed that any situation in which anyone's upset, they should overthrow the government? I don't know. I don't think they meant child support was a reason to overthrow the government, sir.
And we'll cease and desist all operations.
No, he's thinking of the preamble. When he says preamble, he's thinking of the preamble to the Constitution. I think he just means the early part of the Declaration, in which it's like, in the series of human occurrences, it's sometimes necessary to throw off the blah 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 blah, whatever the exact wording. He's just talking about the first part. He definitely needs to read up on the Whiskey Rebellion. Yeah. That's the one I was thinking of.
Establish Mahto villages and territories against any and all Mahto members for public safety. Why? Because they won't return property. Because they demand that you give them an identification.
Thank you. In the course of human
law
events,
enforcement officers are incorrectly trained to believe that anybody traveling is within their jurisdiction to just stop arbitrarily. That is not the law. That does not constitute reasonable, articulable suspicion of a crime having been committed. That's tyranny. I had an officer ask me, or, we were discussing this. I said, so how many people are actually pleased to see you? And he had no answer. Why? Because he knows it would be a lie. The only time any American is happy to have cop lights behind them is if they've been in an accident.
Yet I think most people, when they see someone pulled over on the side of the road, go, oh, I wonder what they did. People don't want to be pulled over themselves, usually. They're fine with people who are drunk driving, or speeding, or driving unsafely being pulled over. You kind of get the issue with what you're saying. I understand no one likes being pulled over themselves, but broadly, we understand why people get pulled over, at least if it's not a bullshit thing.
Need assistance.
Like a racist cop or something.
Go figure. What a novel concept. That officers wouldn't be allowed to stop your lawful travels unless you were endangering the public. Why? Because the public has rights.
Pinch me a bit.
You do not have a right with the Mahto plate to act like a dumbass. You have a duty to be an example of what a law-abiding American is. Why? Because you're the most educated American on the highway, number one, if you have the plate, because you know what it means. But number two, if you're a veteran, you're also the most highly trained man or woman on the highway.
Why do I get the feeling I'm going to find out one day that this guy, like, did boot camp and, like, dropped out or something? I get the vibe that he's very into, like, the military, but not, like, the reality of being in the military and the day-to-day of, like, being in the military. I get the idea that he's obsessed with the aesthetic and, like, the symbolic meaning of the military. He's got that vibe, right? He's got the vibe of the kind of guy that, like, people who are actually in the military are kind of embarrassed by, because he keeps trying to use it as a badass thing, and keeps trying to use it as, like, a I'm better than you thing. You know what I mean? I just feel like I'm gonna find out that he's really overselling whatever his service record is, if he even has one. Not saying he doesn't. I don't know. I just get the vibe.
Number three, you've proven loyal to the Republic.
Orion Cooper says, I get the same vibe, and I was heavily an Army brat. Thank you.
Or you wouldn't be an honorably discharged veteran, hua?
I'm not saying he's necessarily stolen valor. Like, he may have been in the armed services, and he may have been in them even for years, but it feels like he's acting like he's some badass Rambo combat vet, and I get the vibe that that's not the case, you know? Most of the roles in the military are not combat roles, you know? But I feel like he's acting like he's like, oh, I'm fucking awesome, I'm badass, I'm competent in everything, I could murder you with a toothpick, you know? M. Scheffler says, you're right on target.
This is why we have a right to behave as a lawful, law-abiding neutral.
And we already know he's lying about other things, so, you know. Are just boot things? Yeah, that's kind of what I'm talking about, that subreddit.
Who's neutral? The Mahto Indians are. Neutral where? In the war between the United States of America and their U.S. citizens. Well, that's crazy talk. Yeah, until you've read the Trading with the Enemy Act of 1917, slapped yourself with a leather glove.
Your use of the word hooah is actually a Marine thing, so potentially that.
Nothing, rolled yourself in peanut butter in a dead corner. What you need to do is you need to start waking up to the truth, kids. And the truth is that you've been lied to. You've been duped. We all have. Now, whether or not you remain ignorant, like I said, is completely up to you. But I will not. This is for people with ears to hear and eyes to see. This is a legal, lawful methodology to be able to escape the system, but also do something for your fellow Americans.
Not legal or lawful to claim that the laws don't apply to you and then try and create your own nation where you enforce laws yourself. No.
Americans.
Trey says, so I've never served in the military, but I know fuckers like this, and he seems like the kind of guy who was somewhere in inventory management that used that position to make friends. That seems so specific.
There'd be no reason why anybody wouldn't love to be part of a Mahto village in their county. Why? Because there's no obligation.
Oh, by the way, with about an hour left in the stream, don't forget, if you want to help the stream and help it going, because I couldn't do it without viewers like you, consider subscribing. You won't see ads anymore if you're on Twitch, and even if you have an ad blocker, subscribing helps support the channel. We're also doing double tips until the end of tomorrow. So if you want to get towards the karaoke stream goal, consider using the tip link at !tip or hannahreloaded.com/tip. All right, commercial over. Back to the crazy.
Outside of what you must do to basically be loyal as an American, that's it. Their agents must be licensed. Why? For public safety. Until and unless treaty obligations are performed. Why? Because all of the treaties, international treaties, they say that all neutral parties have a right to self-defense. We're not parties to their war. I recognize their authority over their U.S. citizens, but I demand they recognize our authority not only on our lands, but over our own people to protect them from who? Them. Why? Because you keep thinking you can stop anybody you want, that you
Is
can
anyone else
demand.
bothered by the slant on his text? It's the scan. It just got scanned slightly crooked, I
They
think.
tell you whether or not they have
Yes, he's a U.S. citizen, even if he chooses to ignore that fact.
a weapon, so that you can, under the guise of officer safety, which I still can't.
Tea with Goblins with 145 bits says, I've always found it very odd how Americans seem to worship the concept of the military while also treating veterans like they're disposable. Like where I am from, the idea of saying to a former service member of the military, thank you for your service, is a very, very odd sentiment. Not that it's not difficult and necessary work in some areas, but it does speak to a kind of military fetishization that only military vets are treated with such reverence, even only symbolically. Yeah, there's multiple events in United States history that lead to that. World War II and our relative insulation from it is a part of it. Don't get me wrong, World War II combat veterans saw absolute horrors. But for most of the people domestically at home, it was a thing happening over there, right? And when we won the war, air quotes, Russia had a great deal to do with that. But, it was like a celebratory thing, like, woo, we did it! It had this sense of national pride attached to it. Then you get to, like, Vietnam, and the script sort of flips on that. And then you had veterans returning home and being treated quite badly, which, they were drafted, so, like, on some level I get it. But also, don't do an imperialism. But anyway, we sort of overcorrected on that, and then 9/11 happened, and the military worship got even more out of control. It's a very strange cultural thing.
Can't find a law on that. You think you have a right to disarm them, when in reality, we all know what you're doing. You're running the serial number. You want to see if you can create a reason to take it.
I know Cat's making a guest appearance since the boy got a forever home abducted by aliens. I don't know. They just haven't been in here as much. Maybe they're still afraid he's in here. They've been here a few times, but not as often.
From them. And what do you guys do every single time? You do not return weapons, ever. I've never heard of it happening.
Yeah, that's definitely not true. I think confiscated weapons get returned all the time. You specifically did a thing where I don't think you get yours back, though, so...
I really hope I'm wrong. But I would almost bet all of everything that I own on paper that if you want to look and see who has the most weapons, the biggest arsenals, among any population within the United States of America, I will bet you money it's attorneys. I will bet you anything that it's attorneys and judges.
Sure, I'll take that bet. I think you're wrong. His implication here is that he believes that judges and cops are literally stealing his confiscated weapons and taking them home and keeping them. M. Scheffler says, as a service member, I hate the fetishization of the military. It's a job that people do. Yeah. Almost on a hype train.
Why? Because they take
Now, to be
everything
clear,
from people.
those weapons may or may not be auctioned off, because police auctions are a thing, but he literally thinks that, like, cops or judges are just pocketing his weapons, which is not happening. Tea with Goblin says, to be fair, here in Australia, we also over-fetishize our soldiers, but only the now very, very dead World War I and II Anzacs, like the unborn, they can't really talk for themselves anymore. Vietnam vets were treated like shit here, too. Caradona with 100 bits, thank you. And Trey with 40 bits says, sent message in DMs. I'll take a look. Taking off a hype train. Thank you very much. If you want to help the hype train, bits, gift subs, subscriptions, whatever, are always good.
Under the guise of law. And they know you can't get it back from them. Why? Because they have their own civilian army. It's called police. It's called law enforcement, and they're all U.S. citizens who don't know any better. They don't know that they're following rules and regulations that they don't have to follow. They didn't have any knowledge of the fact they weren't.
I'm gonna read this. Oh, Sage John, thank you so much for gifting 5 tier 1 subs. I really appreciate those gift subs. Here's what Trey said in regard to the thing about an inventory guy making, quote, friends in the military. Trey says, for context, what I mean by that is I've met a ton of dudes who used to hold these kind of positions, and a ton of them, because they were near people who are in combat, started collecting stories like their Pokemon cards, and there's this vicarious living that they get from hearing these stories around them, but also a jealousy, because they're like, man, I can't do that. On top of that, they tend to believe that they're smarter than other people because they track numbers, but really most of that tracking is counting up or down. Ugh. Why does it seem like everything is just managing everyone's various mental illnesses? I say that as someone who poorly manages my own. Nemesaur, thanks for gifting 10 tier 1 subs to the community. 6% to level 5. Thanks so much to you and Sage John for the gift subs.
Required to get a driver's license, that their mother, wasn't required to be an informant and hand them off to the government with a birth certificate. Why? Because they needed help delivering the offspring. So, of course, the nefarious and the evil among us will take full advantage of that and make sure that they convert all these offspring to their corporate.
You're confused. Does he want his own nation in America, but the ruler still be under Trump? Basically, he wants to be his own king, but also he's a chud, so he wants to suck Trump's dick. Metaphorically, I hope. Stone Corbell, thanks for gifting a sub. So he's kind of mixing his sovereign citizen, independent nation thing with this strange lust he has for Donald Trump's leadership.
Cattle. So that when they get to be adults, they're still enslaved to their system, trading 40 hours a week to go ahead and get all of these debt instruments that aren't real lawful money, which means they've never been paid. Only to drop dead 6 months statistically after retiring 20, 30 years later on a pittance called Social Security, which has billions.
Oh, don't worry. Donald Trump and his team are going to cut Social Security, so there'll be even less.
Of dollars likely in every account. How do I know that? Because the Department of Justice alone gives over
He's
$1 trillion.
orbiting. I'm so glad sometimes people remember the little names I give concepts. I appreciate you.
Dollars a day to our national budget. That's how you know you're watching a soap opera every time you're watching these clowns in Congress.
I haven't used Air Bud logic in a while.
They're all owned by these foreign corporate entities. They don't work for you. Why do you think they go to Congress and they come out, 100 times wealthier? It's because all of their PACs, political action committees, all the people, quote unquote, donating. Where are they donating to? They're donating to these private entities, these foreign entities, or convertible entities that allows them to be able to take all of these donations and funnel them wherever
Some people think Trump will increase Social Security payments, not sure why. I think part of that's a little bit of what I talked about earlier, with this idea that they have an idea of Trump in their head, because Trump says things that they like. For instance, maybe they're xenophobic, racist, sexist, transphobic. Trump repeats those things, and that's also reinforced through things like Fox News, right? So because they agree so strongly on these gross social issues that they've been tied to, they assume he must also agree with the other things I believe, in that case being that they feel that they're not getting enough Social Security, or that Social Security is important. They fail to understand that he's just saying things to them, A, because he's also a Fox News addicted weirdo, but because it gets him followings from people like that, who are easy to manipulate based on token social, issues like that. I don't think they get it. They don't get it. These are the kind of people that say things like, he can't be bought, he's got too much money already. These are people who have a really, really, really bad, concept of other minds, right? They don't understand that, no, actually, there are people who are basically addicted to the acclamation of wealth, or the accumulation of wealth, rather, and enough is never enough. That's not the point.
Wish.
30 seconds on the hype train.
Now, you couple with that the fact that they have
Jade Monkey, thanks for 17 months, says, yup.
Knowledge. They have inside knowledge. Insider trading is illegal for U.S. citizens, but not for Congress people. At least it didn't used to be.
Accidentally based on the bingo card for the Congress trading thing.
How do you think Nancy Pelosi outpaced Warren Buffett?
Moira Soma, thanks for 45 months at tier 2.
Do you have any idea how significant that is? You have a woman, I would argue, who has an IQ of a carrot and couldn't rub two sticks together to make fire, but somehow she outdoes Warren Buffett?
Okay, you don't need to like Nancy Pelosi, but to say she's an idiot is, I don't think accurate. She's old and out of touch and completely incompetent at this point, but I don't think she's an idiot. I don't like her, but I don't think it's fair to call her an idiot. She's old and out of touch, which is a different thing. Thank you for the hype train, everyone.
The sage of Omaha, the guy who probably forgotten more about investing than, some schlep like me is ever going to know? Of course not. It's because she had knowledge he doesn't have. So she engaged in a practice that, had you done it as a U.S. citizen, you'd be sitting in jail. But she can do it. Why? Because she's not probably a U.S. citizen. She's probably an American Indian, state citizen.
What? Did he just say he thinks Nancy Pelosi is into this sovereign citizen crap? All right, then.
Why? Because they were put there by electors. I promise you, they probably have a very hyper understanding of it. Why do I know that? Because who's the clown in the Pierce County, Jesse Young? I went to him in 2021, 2022, or 19, something like that, when the city of Gig Harbor case first started. When I finally figured out these are just corporate entities and they're over here pretending like they have a right to take my property. What did he do? Nothing. Why? Because he's reliant on that system for his income. He lives off the exact same system. Why? Because he gets a check from a foreign government. Huh? He gets a check from a foreign government. Who do you think owns DC?
What?
Then, by implication, they own all states.
What?
They own all municipalities. I don't care if you're talking...
I know he's got a thing with the Vatican, so I'm assuming he's claiming that the states and the U.S. government are all owned by the Vatican, which isn't true, obviously.
Federal or state, the federal government.
I really feel like people like this don't understand the antipathy which the United States had against Catholics for a majority of its existence. Like, the United States is a Protestant nation in terms of, what is the historically highest proportion of religious belief? Protestantism. They really don't like Catholics historically. They still don't, but, you know, in less murdery ways.
Government buys all of the court bonds from each of the states and municipalities and everything else. It all goes back to the exact same system, and it's not owned by the Republic. Don't overthink it.
Well, there's that don't overthink it again.
So what does that mean? That means that the Indian nation...
Don't think about the crazy, insane nonsense I'm saying. Just accept it. Stop thinking. Just accept it. Stop thinking so much. Just accept it. Don't I sound so confident? Just accept it.
Nations, the 500...
Unhealthy. Don't do that. That's someone trying to manipulate you.
174 pretend sovereign tribes. They have their own law enforcement for their own society.
Only had 2 Catholic presidents. Yep, and one of them got his head exploded.
Why do I say pretend? Because they're slaves. They're 14th Amendment U.S. citizens.
And the other's head kind of, like, collapsed in like a dying star. But that's... you.
They don't own shit. They have trust lands. They're entitled to the revenue and everything else that, again, they steal from their own family members, some of them. The good ones don't. There's some out there that have lineal descendancy. That's the requirement to be in their nation. Those people are Indians, in my opinion.
Did you see Michael Bay got arrested at the Vatican recently? Was that real, or was that a setup for a Super Bowl commercial I missed? Because I saw that, like, the day before the Super Bowl, and I was like, is this a real news story, or is this a setup to a punchline that's going to be in a Super Bowl ad? Was there a Michael Bay arrested at the Vatican Super Bowl ad, or did that really happen? I'm getting very confused by the world at this point.
Real Indians don't discriminate against their kids. They are warmed over relics of white men. And I hope that hurts. They're all apples. You're red on the outside, you're white on the inside. I don't even
Michael Bay did what? He got arrested at the Vatican.
know a white man.
Michael Bay broke into the Vatican and got arrested. Hold on. Let me see if it was fake or something. Michael Bay arrested at the Vatican for entering restricted area.
Director Michael Bay claims he was arrested at the Vatican after attempting to enter a restricted area. In an Instagram video, he appeared in handcuffs, admitting he was being taken to a local prison and warning others not to break into the Vatican. While details remain
I didn't need that advice. I did not need that advice, for the record.
unclear, Bay's attempt to access an off-limit zone led to his detention by Vatican security. He did not explain his motives, and it is unknown if he faced formal charges. The Vatican has not commented on the incident, leaving fans curious about this unexpected turn in Bay's life.
To be clear, I saw the video, like, it did show him filming stuff, so I don't know. The world is stupid.
That would discriminate against his own kids. But you dumb knuckle draggers, you can be convinced to reduce your own numbers artificially. Why? Because you get another $100 more than your kids do at Christmas time. Do you have any idea how impressively stupid that is?
I have no idea what the fuck he's talking about with that.
Every single executive board out there that practices apartheid against their own people. If it is the people that adopt...
Oh, he's still talking about the fact that they won't let him be a tribal member?
Numbers are on the kids. They are warmed over relics of white men. And I hope that hurts. They're all apples. You're red on the outside, you're white on the inside.
Okay, yeah, he's claiming all of the actual tribes are fake, and he's the real indigenous person. Thanks.
Know a white man that would discriminate against his own kids. But you dumb knuckle draggers, you can be convinced to reduce your own numbers artificially. Why? Because you get another $100 more than your kids do at Christmas time. Do you have any idea how impressively stupid that is? Every single executive board out there that practices apartheid against their own people. If it is the people that adopt the Mahto nation, you will never serve on a board again. You will receive 10% of what you would have otherwise received, and you will be stripped of your lands. They'll be given to every one of your family members that you stole from. if I have my way. Why? Because you deserve it. That's why. That's why we have the protections in here for, and we'll just jump to that real fast, but let me finish this. All foreigners or their agents caught violating any portion of what number 1 will be arrested. Firearms and all other property taken for safekeeping is practiced by existing agencies. That means we're not giving them back. Vehicles
He's now saying he's gonna steal the judge's guns.
confiscated and their personal assets, firearms seized up to and including their homes, inheritances, and land until treaty obligations are performed per treaty right. What do I mean by that? The treaty says they'll take care of it. If they don't take care of it, that means that by default, I have a right to take care of it myself. Duh. It's a treaty. You didn't follow up. You didn't do your portion. So don't bitch at me if I have to do it for you. After the elections, all existing criminal, civil, tort, and all maritime admiralty cases from all international, national, state, federal, and ecclesiastical courts are now removed to our jurisdiction, or show me why we don't have authority. Vatican courts, International Court of Claims, United Nations Court in The Hague. You guys show me how you have authority over any sovereign Indian nation. You have authority
Let's not
over
get into Trump's angry words towards The Hague right now.
Americans. You have authority over your UN members, but the chief has autographed and accepted all of your treaties reserving all rights. Primary among those rights is the right to hear all cases against our members in our courts. You show me where I'm required to recognize any foreign court's authority over my people if it's on our soil. If it has to do with property on our soil, land, arms, weapons, anything. You show me how your court
Mahto's getting boring. He's already whiny. Well, there's 15 minutes left in this video, and after today, we won't be taking a look at him for a little bit. We'll give him a rest. I might play some clips, but I won't do a whole stream like this about him for a while.
has superior jurisdiction
Unless he does something crazy.
to our tribal.
Tomorrow, which, by the way, I'll do a little ad for tomorrow, I guess, since you're here. Tomorrow we're going to do tinfoil, and I think we're going to do normal tinfoil, but because it is Valentine's Day, we'll also throw in some Valentine's conspiracies. I found a few Valentine's Day conspiracies that we can take a look at, thematically appropriate. I will stream. I know I've been streaming early a lot recently. I'm sorry. But tomorrow is Valentine's Day, and I have some plans later, so I probably will stream a little bit early. Starting at like 3 or something. Maybe 4, I don't know. Anyway, so come hang out for tinfoil tomorrow.
Nation, the only 575th of Indians, not U.S. citizens. Those are 574 nations of slaves. Whether or not they realize it or not is not my problem. My obligation.
Sam Scheffler says, but he is my favorite. Just the right mix of nut job and idiot thinks they're a genius. I like him too.
Is achieved. My
But I understand that if people get bored, they get bored, and I don't want to bore people.
obligation as a veteran is to provide a mechanism in lieu of something else. I'm going to say that again. I would rather be fishing. I would rather be out doing things for the American people.
I don't think you would. I think you really love doing this, and that's why you do it. I think you might also hate it, but somewhere psychologically you need this. I don't know for what. I don't know what pain this helps. But pretty sure you wouldn't be doing this if you didn't want to be.
Not sitting here trying to correct shit the state of Washington, city of Gig Harbor, Kitsap County, and all other individuals who've taken an
I
oath
think
to
this guy is going to go full Charles Guiteau eventually. Who's Charles Guiteau?
Constitution should have fixed themselves. I know you've been deluded into believing that you could
Filling the void. Enter the Void. I watched Enter the Void for the first time a while back. Didn't care for it very much. Recommend a Ghost Story instead. With Joaquin, which Phoenix is in that? I think there's a Phoenix in that. It's not Joaquin, certainly not River. One of the other ones.
can ignore basic fundamental principles of life, but you do not have a right to take property that does not belong to you. There's really no other simpler way to say that. You're the foreigners.
Gateau assassinated a POTUS for not giving him a position? Fun.
don't have a right to kidnap people. You don't have a right to take their mug shot, to take their fingerprints, to do all that other stuff. If you decide you want to go hole up with the foreigners, then you go ahead and do that. Like I said, after all village councils will immediately form a Mahto grand jury of 25 Indians. Why? To hear all these counterclaims up here. You have an admiralty case, they stole your property, they pulled you over, they tried to claim that you're the criminal. Okay, we'll give them notice. It's now being removed to our grand jury. They're going to find out whether or not there should be a counterclaim for treason by sedition, conspiracy to basically deprive rights, bunch of other felony convictions, capital offenses. Any U.S. citizen, especially any newswoman, agency, social media influencer, platform, government employee, or entity who defames, slanders, or otherwise mischaracterizes any intent or actions of the chief or any Mahto members, you can stop there. That includes Trump. That includes anybody we've adopted. If you have a case against them, you want to continue to run your mouth. Don't be surprised if you get after July 4th, if treaty obligations haven't been performed. Don't be surprised if this warrant applies to you. And the next time you're in one of our territories, if one of our law enforcement officers doesn't snatch you and bring you in front of our jury, I'll be very impressed. Again, I believe Trump and all of his entire cabinet will agree with me. This is a fast way to fix a lot of bullshit in this nation right now. Immunity, assuming the chief's weapons have not been returned.
He's literally just talking about forming a posse and murdering everyone he doesn't like through, like, bullshit drumhead trials. So that's fun.
President Trump grants an appointment or license. Not going to be held liable. This is all Mahto marshals have a blanket search warrant for each bar association.
What does he think will happen on July 4th? That's the day he plans to have elections for his fake nation, is July 4th. That's going to be election day for his bullshit country.
Attorney judges property in each Mahto village to recover arms or weapons stolen from Americans over the past decades and to disarm all former American bar members who have proven disloyal to the Republic and are thereafter permanently forbidding from keeping or bearing arms. Why? Because we don't want criminals armed, do we? We don't want criminals who go out here and teach our brave law enforcement officers to steal from their fellow Americans. We don't want them.
Very funny that he thinks he has a right to never have his guns taken away. But his first recourse is to take away the guns of the people he doesn't like. That's interesting.
Having arms, do we? I don't think we want them having lands. I don't think we want them receiving more than 10% of what they would have otherwise received for their entire lives, so that they too can now understand or overstand what it's like to be put into financial subjection by a foreign government.
So to be clear, you're now intentionally creating a lower class of former law enforcement and taking away their guns, and you expect that to go well for you. All right, good luck.
Foreign to them. Why? Because we're the only de jure nation with de jure courts. That's why. Show me another one. So that's that one. Jump on here. All weapons that they can't provide proof of payment for, they'll be prosecuted individually for each additional charge. So anybody who assists a bar association member after July 4th with getting rid of weapons so that they don't get charged for them, you're going to be charged as well. Again, if President Trump doesn't want to take care of this, it is our intention to make sure that every bar association member, every weapon they've stolen, they get charged additionally for it. Time to set everything right that has been done wrong. And again, yeah, I am willing to die to get
Like
this
Scott Bakula.
done. Any honorably discharged military veteran, Mahto member currently working for any military, whatever, is assumed to be loyal. We've already said that. Any of the other ones, they're ineligible for cross-deputization until treaty obligations are performed. Why? For public safety. You're poorly trained. You have no business being out there with a weapon speaking to anybody, in my opinion, until you're properly trained and until I get my property back. Notice I haven't put a financial component on this because I'm not going to be accused of extortion. I firmly believe that, yes, my jury will award appropriately.
I'm not going to put money on this because that would be extortion, but I do expect the jury to get them to give me money. is about the funniest statement he could have made there. This would be extortion if I was asking for money. Good news, I don't have to ask. They'll just give it to me anyway.
But like I said, what I'm demanding here are basic fundamental rights of an American veteran who has served honorably. Give me my weapons back. Don't ever talk to one of my
Yeah, he seems like he should have weapons for sure. He seems like a real stable guy.
people without permission.
It's
It's very simple. If you can't articulate the crime they were committing, you're the criminal. You're operating outside your jurisdiction. You have no business there. It's not your plate. It's my people and it's ours. And if you're not going to give our property
I'm
back,
just gonna be honest. I hate to be this person, but with my track record, do you remember how I started streaming like 4 years ago talking about how I found Elon Musk to be creepy and thought he had a dark undercurrent? And then we ran into Andrew Tate, and then he blew up and became famous, and it turned out he was a sex trafficker. And then I found Bill Pulte, and then he got picked to be a part of the Trump administration in his cabinet. I'm a little worried that everyone I make fun of is going to gain power, and I have some sort of weird curse, and this guy's gonna successfully open a cult and do a Jonestown. I'm just putting it out there. I've got a track record here of finding people right before they become very relevant to the main plot of the world.
back again, I have a right to go recover it myself, and I don't need your help. I want to be very clear on that. I used to own the company that got hired to go in and show people where all of their current
Marcel, before he ended up on Winnipeg's top 10 most wanted.
buildings, everything
That's true. Peter hasn't become powerful. That's fair.
else, where all of the failures in their system were. I used to be the guy who taught all this stuff at
Halloween Town says, make fun of me, please, I'm begging. If I mock you, then you're going to become like the dictator of Venezuela or something, and I don't need that in my life.
collegiate level. There may be some things that I am challenged in, but higher level things, I am not. In fact, I'm very good at those. But when it comes to stuff like getting my property back, I will never stop until I get it. And I'm not talking about a replacement.
I didn't hear what.
The very weapons that were taken from me.
Peter's cult leader has. He performed for the president. So, that's something.
Not some close.
Peter won the lottery 5 times. Funny.
Anything
That
else.
wouldn't even be the worst thing. He would just spend all day being high. So he'd be neutralized, basically, as any sort of threat to anyone.
Because I know they exist. They're sitting in some judges or some attorney's private collection right now. I would bet money on that. How do you know that? Because that's what they do with them if they don't want to put them out there on auction. And they're not going to take any weapon that they steal from an American and put it out there and sell it when they can get it for free. Why would you? Do you honestly think that they're not going to just grab that and keep it for themselves when there's no other paper trail that they'll respect?
No, I don't think they're just taking your guns with no paper trail of any kind. I don't believe that. If you have evidence of that, that's fine. But right now, he's basically saying, the court took my guns, and I think the judge literally stole it and put it in his house. Like, that's just you being petty and assuming the judge is petty. You're projecting your pettiness out onto other people in such a strange way.
I've given the IRS and Treasury multiple notices regarding these cases. They've ignored them all. I've given the FBI...
Paladin Law says, hello, Hannah. I'm a Nigerian prince. I've heard great things about you. I have the sum of $4 jillion USD once I become king. Please help me by insulting me. See, you trapped me in a corner here, because I can't make a joke about this, then I'd be insulting you. That's tough. I'm gonna have to ruminate on this.
Department of Justice. U.S. military got arrested for my efforts. All these different agencies that should have done their job, they've ignored it. So again, I'm acting in honor. Fine. I'm assuming you guys don't want to do your jobs, then don't do your jobs. Now again, am I expecting this from Trump's people? No. What I'm expecting is an appointment to say, yeah, go ahead, chief.
He wants an appointment from Trump to say, you can go murder whoever you want. Look, Trump has been a nightmare, even worse than I expected prior to the inauguration. But even I don't think Trump would give this random internet crazy guy a license to murder. 6 months later. We'll use that clip later for something fun. Don't worry about it. If I'm alive.
Go wild. Start rounding these assholes up. Start bringing them into your courts. Build the
You gotta set yourself up for funny jokes later. That's what I've learned in life.
gallows and start hanging them after you convict them. That's what I'm really hoping happens. Why? Because that's what should happen. When you have traitors to the Republic, they're stealing from their fellow Americans. They're trafficking our kids in their courts.
Sir, you had your custody taken away because you're a nutbag.
Sending Americans to private prisons, people. Private. That means all these foreign government entities, all these foreign owners, these corporations, all these different things that trade in all the bonds of all these prisoners. That's what.
Trey, is this just that? Me from the future, fuck you! Fuck you! No, fuck you! No, fuck you! Me from the future. I didn't time that right.
It's happening to Americans. And why must you do that to Americans? Because we are the only nation where the people are sovereign. That's why it has to be us. That's why you must come out of Babylon. Babylon is their system. It's been around for over 6,000 years. You don't believe me? Go look at the eagle on the Roman coins. Now look at the eagle on our US coins.
There's syncretism again. This thing uses an eagle as a symbol, and this other nation uses an eagle as a symbol. They must be the same thing. No, not how it works. Not how any of this works.
Why is the Vatican? Why is London? Why is Washington, D.C. laid out in
Can't be nice to yourself? You saw that bitch. She had it coming.
a pentagram? It's because they're satanic. Last days, Babylon. Does that mean America's bad? No. It means that regardless of what nation that you were in, if you're one of Yahuwah's
Why
people,
is the
you're out there
Vatican?
trying to
Well, you see, there was this guy named Paul.
preach the word. You're not trying to stop anything that the scriptures have already predicted would happen. You may as well go out and try to stop the tide. That makes as much sense as having, nipples on a boar hog.
Boars are mammals. They have nipples. They have nipples. Does he not know that all mammals have nipples? I guess except for platypi. Well, are they marsupials? Anyway, hogs have nipples. They're mammals. All mammals have nipples, virtually. They can be milked.
All you have to do is go out and do what the Most High says.
He
And
said boar, hog, H-O-G, hog.
that is, preach the word, do it peacefully and lawfully. Try to help our fellow man.
Platypi have proto-nipples, they're milky sweat glands. I've never heard them described as proto-nipples. I knew they sweat milk, but that's why I said virtually. Because platypi are mammals, right? Am I crazy? Am I crazy? Are marsupials a subclass of mammals? Or are they just a cousin to mammals? I don't know my clades.
Not to even listen to any of the naysayers. Try not to listen to everybody who's going to try to, not victimize, but, vilify what we the people are doing.
Can I milk a cat? Can I? Perhaps? Will I? No. Also, yes, I know that's a reference to Meet the Parents.
Again,
I have nipples, Greg. Can you milk me?
Do not know what they do in terms of they are ignorant, just like those who crucified Yahusha, even though it was an achievement. It had been planned from since before the foundation of the world. That is evidenced by the fact that he fulfilled all things on the hour, on the month, and on the year that they were predicted 1,500 years prior.
Mammalian nipples is redundant.
There should be no doubt that there was a guiding hand in that event.
Platypuses are not marsupials. I thought they had some kind of pouch. So I got thrown off.
So let me finish this. They have to do this, $100,000 payable, 50-50 between the officer that catches somebody in stolen valor and their admiralty, city, municipality, or state court. We will reward
They have
people,
a pouch, but it's convergent.
even our foreign
Okay.
agents who are US citizens, if they find somebody engaging in stolen valor with a Mahto plate. That's a very serious offense because we honor our veterans. So let me jump up here to this.
I know they lay eggs, but I guess in my head, for some reason, I thought the eggs hatched and then they continued gesticulating in the pouch. Kind of like how koalas, you know, they are born, but then they crawl to the pouch and continue gestating.
More cha-ching.
The word I'm looking for is flesh pocket. We did it! We finally made a joke with the flesh pocket that made sense. It all came around. Yeah, I meant gestating. I didn't mean gesticulating. Misspoke.
Okay, this one. Pating.
That's
okay.
marsupials. I know. That's why that's what confused me.
Marriage contract.
Howdy, Jason.
Hey, Jason. In the presence of all assembled, Mr. Blah and Ms. Blah did both affirm individually by autographing below.
Oh, this is the marriage. This is the marriage vows for his society or something.
Now collectively declare to all assemblies on earth and in the life to come our commitment to abide by the following scriptural.
Oh wow, so it's not even a till death do us part thing. This is an eternal commitment. That's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot. I don't think that's quite biblical either. Jesus said, basically, everyone will be like family in heaven. At least how it was explained to me when I was still a Christian back in the day, that marriages were dissolved upon death, and like those kind of relationships don't really exist in heaven. That might have just been the weird Baptist thing I was in. I don't know how different sects consider that kind of thing.
Terms and conditions for our marital union. Notice it doesn't say admiralty, it doesn't say statutory. So help us, the Most High. We agree the Most High, our marriage, and our children will remain the order of importance in our union. We agree to always do whatever it takes to make our spouse's life easier, happier, and fulfilling at all times, committing to never allow ugliness to come from our mouths toward each other or toward our offspring. We agree that we will never allow any outside party.
Yay, having dating. See, no, again, as it was explained to me in the Baptist school I was in until like 5th grade, there aren't relationships in heaven. You spend all your time in heaven worshiping God. That's your function in heaven, is to eternally praise God. And that's what you do all the time. And that's your role now, is you're a soul there to praise God. And that's it. That's what you do all day for eternity. Gee, I wonder why I left the religion. Also the fact that it's, not evidenced, but I don't think that helped.
Into our marriage, and that we will discuss all things as husband and wife and follow the decision that our family patriarch feels led to make. Obviously, it's not for everybody. We affirm that we have additionally spoken our marriage vows in full view of these witnesses, whose signatures below affirm that they too heard us both speak said vows in public, and that what will be bound on earth below will also then be bound in heaven. That's scriptural. We affirm that this marriage contract controls all offspring, there's the technical term, and wealth from this union, who forever belong to the Most High, entrusted the groom's earthly care unless he be found unworthy by a 12-man Mahto jury, not by some 304 who decides she wants to lie about it.
Do you at least occasionally get to go out into the lobby to eat cookies and talk to the old people? No, it's not even as good as church.
Should this union ever be broken from within or without, all responsible parties agree that they are then subject to adjudication of guilt. In other words, no such thing as a no-fault divorce. Not in the Mahto Nation.
Yeah, he doesn't want women to be able to leave their husbands. I wonder why.
Something to F up your marriage, that jury can do whatever they want to you, male or female. By the same jury on earth and by him on judgment day. Autograph of the minister, the date of bride, the groom, father of the groom, and the bride. Why? Because that's the paternalistic leader of the homes. That's who has authority over the daughter until she's 21.
21, not even 18. In Mahto's society, women don't get to be free from the power of their father until they're 21. Stone Corbell says it's super not apparent at all that his belief system is formed out of all of his particular resentments. Isn't it interesting? Isn't it interesting how people construct these things?
That's who has authority over the son. Witness 1, witness 2, here is the seal. It's not Marcus, it's not Chief Mahto. It is Yahuwah's Mahto tribe, the Mahto tribe, his son Yahusha.
How much did he pay for that seal? Too much. The answer.
Mahto Ministries. There's our other logo. So you cannot mistake who we are and what we believe. This is the notary seal for this this document. So this was also recorded. Everything that we've covered in this video today, that is in the original filing. I think this is the original number right here. Yep. Recording 2025. That was the year, the month, the day at 424, I would guess, or close to that, whatever number is. And now this is part of the public record. Okay. So what I am going to do, I chatted with her a little bit before, this young lady named Lindsay. We're going to be speaking about putting out the Mahto Wampum. And first, it's going to be the territorial government headquarters there near Rexburg, Idaho.
I still don't understand what's going to be the actual money. Is it going to be like a crypto thing, or is he going to try and produce a physical currency? Because, like, to produce a physical currency that's not easy to counterfeit, it's incredibly expensive. That's why governments do it, because it's, like, absurdly expensive. Whatever.
Territory. And after that, we'll start looking into each individual village. But for today, I'm going to need to split here. I got to go get some stuff mailed out, and then also, you know, change some dates on some other stuff. But give me a text or shoot me an email if you have any questions. I'm sorry I got to run and hit the restroom.
That's the
Thanks
end
again,
of
man.
Thanks again, man. Great. Let's take a look at that cleanse. The puppy cleanse. I think that sounds good. I think we need a cleanse about now. Where's the puppy thing? Wait, where is it? Oh, it's Is this my egg reality? This is from Pink Flamingos.
I'm in here. I hear the. Oh, come on.
The Eggman. This isn't a cleanse. I can't cleanse you with John Waters. That's not fair. Well, that's a new call. Yeah. Is it possible to ask AI to watch every Hannah Reloaded stream ever and create a summary? My stuff's probably all been sucked into AIs at this point. That's sad to think about. Parts of the things I've said and the thoughts that have come out of my head have been sucked into this fucking monolithic, evil, capitalist machine, and it's just gonna be trapped in there forever. Where are the puppies? Yeah, where are the puppies? Where are those videos? Oh. Let's see. Is it in live stream chat? I forget where it was. General? Well, I don't know. Oh, pets? That makes sense, obviously. Alright, let's open these. Oh no, I can't play it the way that I want to play it. It's gonna make me download them. So I can't. But we'll watch a different puppy video. Here, look at this puppy.
She took her puppy to the vet for the first time.
I don't think he wants it.
And he was not a fan of taking the medicine, saying that her little chunk is always being overdramatic. She took her puppy to the vet for the first
That is a puppy indeed. Shut up with the music! It's funny when they have no concern for their food. I like cats, but dogs are cute. I grew up with dogs. Dogs are great. Don't download puppies on your computer. You might get worms. But very funny. All right, like I said, tomorrow we're going to be doing tinfoil. We're going to be doing Valentine's tinfoil. There'll be regular stuff in there as well, but we'll at least have a few longer videos that have to do with Valentine's Day, and it'll be fun. So hope to see you sometime tomorrow for that. If you haven't already, consider, if you're on YouTube, subscribing so you get notified when I go live, or you can watch my VODs, or follow me on Twitch. I do stuff most days. It's a lot of fun. We're still doing the tip goal until Friday. All tips are doubled. And I think that's it. So let's see who we're going to rate on Twitch, shall we?
So, okay. Great.
Zachary
Stunning.
Mike.
I'm glad we're ending on that. Yeah.
Do I pay basically the 1/3 of the cost
All right,
of
have
a
a good night,
replacement
everyone.
car? Like, unless I
See you
want to
soon.
replace it with just like a beater, right?
Woo, I've had to pee
And the
for
thing
like
was
half
is
hour.
that, like, it's like, okay, everything else about my Civic is in, like, you know, it's like, okay, yeah, windshield's
Like,
cracked,
adios.
lots of cosmetic